Every city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, reporting live from the PF Attack 346 Stargate in Orville. We are on the precipice of something exciting happening. We already had initiative on gate here. We saw that during the opening thing. This group from Brave has landed with a bunch of Executorers and Executor Navy issues. They forced initiative to jump into PF Attack. However, it looks like the Guristas pirates themselves have actually begun to engage one of the Brave Executorers. You can see this Guristas Lookout doing that. This is a invaded system. Sorry, pirate insurgency system. It is at Corruption 4, so we do have Guristas on grid, but they are not, it's not Corruption 5, which means this is still a high-sec system. What is happening? In less than 5 minutes, we are expecting potentially a carrier group of the Yantey Syndicate. This is going to be the first breakout of the Yantey Syndicate, first breakout attempt. We've received reports from Hikatorigo, the commander of the Caldari militia, stating that there will be 3 breakout attempts in the over the next 2 days. This is the first of 3, and it's supposed to be in 3 different locations. They have given us intel as of an hour and a half ago that the first location is going to be the Bayet constellation, which you can see here is adjacent to the system of, well, the constellation ZTAC 6, which is part of the Syndicate. So you can jump straight from Syndicate to here. We are at the Stargate, even though there is information that likely there will be a Sino that is lit, which we don't necessarily have eyes on yet. I will be keeping an eye on beacons, but you know, there has been quite a bit of buildup around the Stargates. Like I said, we've seen a Brave fleet, we've seen an Initiative fleet. Looks like Initiative is now taking down, not an Initiative, the Brave fleet is now taking down the Guristas that were guarding the gate. So this is the first of the 3 attacks. Oh, RIP CCP. Well, it's because they, so CCP has changed their name to FC, and somehow that is not the most important thing to talk about right now. We're just trying to get this covered. I have the CCP stream ready to go as soon as it goes live. I assume it will. We have 4 minutes to when this event should be starting, so I expect the CCP stream should go live sometime soon, hopefully, to give their angle on this. I will at least be showing that camera. Yeah, we should be able to do audio from it as well, I think. I'm just here in a cloak. There's 2 more opportunities after this. All this information is on the forums. And yes, when this is all over, we will be talking about CCP and DeepMind and what it all means for everybody. But for now, this is the breaking active thing. So it's 1800 is this attack. Wait, yeah. And then, or rather, this attempt at breakout, and then at 02, so in 6, 7, 8 hours from now, there will be another attempt, and then at 11:30 Eve time, so like basically the middle of the night U.S. time zone, there will be a 3rd attempt. There was 3 constellations stated, so it's probably going to be in the 3 different, 1 in each constellation, but we don't know for sure. Is the stream live? The stream is live. Wait, is the stream live? On. Yep, transmission pending. Here we go. Let's get this set up. We have this playing down here. Do you have audio from it? Exordium now more important than ever, says CEO Alidra Belisarian. Dikasi says GDID negotiations progressing well despite rumors of, there's the notification that they're live, despite rumors of deadlock. Air help Concord rebuild security protocols. So Air is helping Concord rebuild the security protocols that were shut down with the what is this? Warpath protocols. So we have the Executor fleet still on field. We have, we can get rid of this. We have, where's the rest of the people? I guess they're all at the station. There's a structure on grid. There's a lot of people sitting over here at the Astrahus. Combat probes are out. That makes sense. I will say that overall, I'm actually really positive about the announcements of the change of name and the partnership with DeepMind. That's kind of my spoilers. So in a little while after this event, I'll try to convince you guys that it's not that bad that DeepMind is doing this. Might be good, actually. We have... Technically, we are now at live time, so anything could happen at any time. We're probably going to hear from the live stream at some point. Oh, here we go. Nope, that's just trying to give me an ad. Awesome. Oh, let me put on the live stream sound. Now you should be able to hear the scope music, right? Node positively we demand to be mad. I mean, I might be able to give you some reasons to be mad too. I'm going to try to give you as good of a take. Be sure to watch FC stream. No, the company formerly known as CCP. You know, there is Twitch drops. That's true. What system? We are currently in the Orvoli system, which I've always called Orvel. They said it would be in the Bayet constellation, and the most obvious answer for that would be Orville. As we can see, Orville directly connects to Syndicate region, but could be anywhere within the constellation. Do we? Okay, that's somebody started a warpath or fucking defense grid. I love how YouTube waits to get... The best way is to get on the Discord and get those pings. You can flag yourself as interested in YouTube, so that way you get the ping when I post something for YouTube to go live. And I know you know that area. It's just, you know, a good opportunity to say such things. 2,000 people are watching CCP stream at this point, so... More combat probes out. We did see that exchange of fire earlier between Brave and Initiative, but then Initiative has now dipped into PF TAC. I don't know if they're still there. Best YouTube notification is Discord. That's true. Tie-dye nightmare. I mean, they probably reinforced it. They've done this kind of stuff before. I will say that I would keep our expectations low. This is less of a really, really super exciting thing and more of just like a thing to participate in and then, you know, be able to say that you were there or whatever, right? More than anything, you know, this is very similar to, say, the Tenu attack with the Titan. You know, the last time they did this kind of thing was in Tabitzer, which was a low-sec system, so it was much more spicy.
This is The Scope with Alton Hovery, reporting live from the Bait constellation in the region of Placid. Caldari State Intelligence has alerted Capsuleers to a possible breakout attempt by the Yantey Syndicate via this constellation. Following the Caldari takeover of the Syndicate region, the Yantey Syndicate is expected to attempt a mass evacuation of capital assets to Gallente Federation space. We are with the story as it unfolds.
All right. And you can see that they're live because we We're literally looking at the same thing that they're looking at.
Historically,
right
the Yantey Syndicate and Caldari State have maintained sympathetic relations. In YC124, the Caldari State even signed a protection agreement with the Syndicate in exchange for control of the constellation of DS-TAC M4Q.
Not going to mention why. Not going to mention what happened to lead to that moment. I'm not here to help anybody. I would rather the Yantey be able to get out, but I don't think that there's a way for us to positively impact this for the Yantey, so instead I'm just watching.
With the Caldari State linking the recent disasters at Jita's stargates to the Yantey Syndicate, those relations rapidly soured. The Caldari State arrested the unofficial leader of the Syndicate, Sylphie N. Diabel, and claimed sovereignty over the entire Syndicate region. The Caldari have sworn to dismantle the Yantey Syndicate and have begun seizing assets and hunting down high-ranking members.
Okay. Is that really how to pronounce
that
it?
A number of Capsuleer ships have already begun to gather throughout the target area. They will be hoping to cast a wide enough net to spot any signs that their quarry has arrived. Some Capsuleers may be here out of loyalty to the Caldari State. However, no doubt many will only be interested in the lucrative bounties that Caldari Navy Executive General Heika Torigo has placed on the Syndicate vessels.
All right.
Federation President Alex Moreau has offered amnesty to the descendants of exiled Yantey, which includes the majority of the Syndicate's members. The Caldari have informed Capsuleers that they suspect priority Syndicate targets will attempt to take advantage of the President's offer, and so have requested Capsuleer assistance in intercepting any Yantey Syndicate members who attempt to escape to Federation space.
Guys, this is so illegal, right? Because, like, if the Glente have offered them amnesty and they're heading to Glente space, they're already in Glente space. They're now, like, basically Glente citizens. So it's just, the Caldari are paying us to go kill Glente. Like, outside of the normal Emergency Militia War Powers Act, inside of Glente HiSec. This is actually, like, I can definitely see as this is going to become a point of leverage for the Glente. Same ship? Look at that. Imagine Glente surprise jumping in with a full fleet to F everything up. Yeah, I don't... Oh, there's a suspect Osprey Navy issue. That's a spooky thing to be right now. Oh, he's tethered. I mean, that makes it less spooky, I suppose. Oh, more Garissas are landing now. We're going to expect a Sino to be lit. And then everybody's going to be warping to that Sino. Fuck. That's going to decloak. I guess it doesn't really matter because it's still HiSec. No one's going to gank me in time. Knock on wood. So we've got Kikis. I can definitely understand people bringing Kikis because it feels like the correct answer if you're trying to get top damage with Destroyer. It's always like, it seems to me... Oh. Wait, that Destroyer is also suspect? No, that's... Oh, it's kill right that can be... So that person could be made suspect. You just have to pay money, basically. And we thought Celis was a genocidal. I mean, arguably, Celis is what led to all of this. Oh, what, shots? Where's shots? Oh, they're just shooting at the Garissas again. Yeah, they're just shooting at the Garissas again. Is that more people landing or what? Oh, yep. What's this? We have Ivy So Eve Uni is now here too. Sinos up, Sinos up, Sinos up, Sinos up.
We are receiving reports that a sinosaural beacon has appeared in Orville. If true, this is an unexpected turn of events. Orville is a high-security system where security lockouts are supposed to prevent the ignition of sinosaural fields. Capsuleers have already begun warping to the system.
We have super
Our camera
carrier.
drones are only moments away from arriving on the scene.
2 super carriers, 2 dreads, a Titan, and yeah, that's it, right? Is that all that's coming through? Here we go. So top damage on basically top damage killing blows of each size ship category on each of these ships is going to be given Plex. So it gives you a good opportunity to pick whichever one you want to in order to try to see what is worth doing. Somehow I've managed to not be decloaked, which is pretty cool. We have on grid. There's all the executors. The Erebus is still in shields. We have these guys are in. Yep, these are all Intaki Syndicate members. We're going to look into all of this stuff later. Oh, looks like they're going for this dread. So here's the problem, and this is what somebody's just learned. If you try to rep somebody, if these capitals are fighting back, then they get a limited engagement timer.
We are now on the scene in Orville, where it appears that the Syndicate have indeed found a way to create a sinosaural field with some kind of unregistered mobile sinosaural beacon. Intaki Syndicate capital ships, including an Erebus-class Titan, have jumped to the beacon.
So what's happening here is that Logi ships...
Whether due to the unorthodox means that they used to get here, or perhaps because they are illegally piloting restricted capital ships in high-security space, it appears that the Syndicate vessels have been flagged as suspects by Concord's Crime Watch system, meaning they can be attacked with impunity.
Okay, so what's happening here, the reason why... Well, now we're seeing Hurricane Fleet issues go criminal, which is pretty funny. So what's happening is that if the capitals fight back and then when people shoot at them, limited engagement timers spawn. And if you logi somebody who's been in a different corporation than you while they're in a limited engagement in HiSec, it causes a criminal flag. So several of these logi ships are going criminal. He's been killed. Man, so one of them is already down. What was it? Wait.
A Moros-class dreadnought has just been destroyed.
Okay, the Moros. Looks like they're going after the other dread. They're melting these dreads super fast. There's actually 2 dreads left still. I thought there was only 2, but I guess there was 3, apparently. People are leaving the capsule alive for some reason. Which is crazy, because there's a billion-isk... There he goes. There's a billion-isk reward on those corpses. Are they shooting back? I mean... Can I tell? Are their guns cycling?
A second Moros dreadnought has gone down.
We'll have to look to see whether or not there's any shooting back. They probably are, though. I'm assuming they are. What a swarm, man. Look at all that. So the dreads are obviously the first to go down because they have the smallest tank by far of all of these. We're going to have to check the Z-kill on all these. Oh, yeah, of course this is a bloodbath. It was always going to be. Tie-dye is sitting at 57%. Fighters are out? Wait, fighters are out. Wait, What? Whose fighters are these? Wait. What? Are the fighters not suspect? Do the fighters not show off as suspect? I guess the fighters don't show off as suspect?
The third and final Moros dreadnought has been destroyed by Capsuleers.
Holy spitballs, Batman. Fighters are from the supercarrier? Okay, so they don't register as suspect.
The Capsuleers have sustained some losses. However, it appears the capital-sized weapons of the Syndicate Titan and dreadnoughts are ill-suited to combat in high-security space, and particularly ineffective against the subcapital-sized vessels being piloted by Capsuleers. The fighters of the Nyx-class supercarriers seem to be more perceived as a high-priority threat by the Capsuleers, and the squadrons are quickly shot down.
Okay, so the Hurricane fleet issues in the MOA are not criminals. They're just bad standings to me. That's why they're red, not flashy red. The Svitpol, I think, just went criminal because, again, so Svitpols and Confessors just got a buff a few months ago, which makes them better at remote lot rep. So remember, with all this stuff going on, even within your own fleet, if you are lodging each other and one of your fleet members shoots one of these super capitals and they get a limited engagement flag, and then you rep them, if you're not in the same corporation with each other, it will criminal you, as I believe that Confessor or that Spitball just learned. Titan Doomsday would not kill a whole bunch here. I mean, maybe a lance or whatever, but like the thing is that everything here is such a small signature that supercarrier, Titans, especially Titan Doomsday now, they nerfed them a while back, a few years ago. They wouldn't really be able to do that much damage to the things on grid.
The first Syndicate Nyx-class supercarrier has been destroyed.
There we go. Nyx is down.
The Syndicate Erebus-class Titan has been destroyed in what would be a crushing blow for their organization. Syndicate forces are barely holding on. With most of their fleet destroyed, their chances of survival are looking slim.
Well, there's nothing that, like I said, there's basically nothing that we could have done if you wanted to prevent this result, right? But does that mean like sometimes we don't get to have very much impact on it? It's just the rules of the game right now that makes this into basically a slaughter, right? There goes the Titan. Oh boy, there goes the Titan. Whoa. This is just an opportunity to get on a Titan kill mail in high sec. That's it. That's basically like on like a meta level. That's what it is. In universe level, this is a thing that has to happen. This is part of the story, right? Again, this action, I'm sure, will be taken up by the Gallente as an exception. They will, I'm almost positive, the Gallente will respond by calling this an act of aggression, an act of war. Don't mess with Caldari infrastructure, you'll be fine. Okay, two guys, or like a couple of guys gets arrested from the Syndicate, so now we're going to take all of their territory and blow up all of their dudes that try to escape. That's crazy. Especially since the Caldari have yet to actually release any evidence that their claims are true.
To withering Capsuleer fire.
That's it. I think that's it. That might be it. There's a bunch of cruisers that are dead. We have local is at 766. Tie-dye is at 57%. Overall, it's been pretty good. Somehow, in all of this, I did not get decloaked, which is wild. Gotta wait for the 19th for any evidence. That's because that's FanFest, right? More fleets are landing now. The thing is that some of these groups might be at war with each other, kind of like Initiative and Brave at the beginning.
With the last Syndicate capital ship destroyed,
oh, they're killing this
breakout
vagabond.
attempt has been shut down by Capsuleer loyalists. The future of the Intaki Syndicate has taken a significant blow today, as they have been thwarted in their attempts to relocate their major assets to Federation space. This will be a great cause for celebration back on New Caldari. But what this will mean for the future of the Syndicate remains to be seen.
Where's Irad? There's a lot of people here, guys. There goes initiative. Oh, there's Irad. Okay, so there's only a couple of Irad. Irad is a pretty strong Caldari militia group. I think that's about it. Let's go ahead and... Well, we're going to let Alton Hovery finish his stuff up, and then we're going to go check out the Z-Kill. Did I read the ticker? I did read some of it. Brutor joins Starkmanner clan members in petitioning for Arzad 2 name change. Wait, what? On Celestial Registry. Arzad? What's the deal with Arzad? Pressure on centralized Amar economy pushes poverty, border system commoners into... Pressure on centralized Amar economy pushes poverty border systems commoners into poverty according to recent analysis. Poorly written headline, but I get it. Caldari says trial of Sylphi and Diabel. So they set for the 19th of May. Okay, hold on. The 19th of May is right after FanFest. It's the Tuesday after FanFest. It's the thing that triggers the last week of this whole event.
In a communique to Loyalist Capsuleers a few days ago, Caldari Navy Executive General Heika Torigo indicated that multiple Syndicate breakout attempts were anticipated. Perhaps others will succeed where this one failed, but with Intaki Syndicate plans seemingly compromised by Caldari intelligence, it seems just as likely that this is not the last Intaki Syndicate fleet that will be intercepted by Capsuleers. From Orville, this is Alton Hovery, signing off.
All right. That is it for the scope. And they're reporting about this. So that's cool. Nope, we're not taking part in the raid. Let's just go ahead and head over to the other news. So just to wrap this up though, I do want to, I've been putting out videos. We put out the video from a couple years ago about Sylphi last week, a couple days ago. I don't know, time means nothing anymore. We covered this New Eden News article and whatnot. I think that the edited version of it should be live now for members and will be available to everybody probably by tomorrow. Oh yeah, it was, I guess, Tuesday, right? Yeah, it was 2 days. Man, so much has happened. Anywho, so basically, for those of you who do not know, the short of it is that the state has accused the Syndicate of working with the Gallente Federation in this attack on the Jita Stargates that happened about a week ago. They arrested the leader of the Syndicate and has proceeded to take sovereignty over the entire Syndicate region. And it was known that the Syndicate dudes were trying to get things prepared in order to escape via capital ships. Today was the first of those 3 attempts. We have reports from Heikatorigo on the forums stating that there will be 2 more. One is in, what is that, 8 hours from now, right? 6, right? Hold on, 2, 4, 6, 8. 8 hours from now, and then, what is that, like 9.5 hours after that. There'll be 2 more breakout attempts. There is Plex rewards for everything. The 3 constellations are going to be this one that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, Bayet and Kebu. I assume that they did the Bayet one so that way we didn't have enough time to corrupt it, but these other 2 are likely going to be the other 2 times. From everything that we can see, the other two events are going to be very similar to this one, although they could theoretically change it up. We don't know for sure, but so far this has kind of played out exactly as I kind of expected based on what they had said. They jumped into high sec and was effectively immediately butchered by the players because they had a suspect flag, such. What? CCP should get someone to play the live reporter to fill in the empty airspace. Hey, I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think that part of the whole point is that we are able to do that. I always am of the strong opinion that if players can take care of it, then they should. And CCP should only really step in the event that that's not happening. So it's good that they covered it as the scope, as a way of having the official scope broadcast about it. But ultimately, I'm covering it. Is that not good enough? False flag operations. I mean, I don't know. I give it a high chance that this is an inside job. I really do feel like this was a inside job. A player could volunteer for this. There are player volunteers and stuff. I think that, again, it's good for it to be player created and player supported. Warlock Industries is not CCP didn't make Warlock do any of that. That's a player doing the things. This is an act of war. Yeah, I agree. If I was the Glente, I'd be very pissed off. Yeah, it's pretty funny. You can see through the mic when it changes colors. You're just seeing some local. It's not actually there to cover up anything. Don't get me wrong. People are still cleaning things up. We have a mammoth that's gone suspect, that's just got blown up. This is going to kind of continue to be a semi-interesting place for a little while. Let's go ahead and check Z-Kill. Stop it. Hold on. Oh. Okay, where was it? Did I not do it? Hold on. Orville? Let's see. What can we see here? When did this Icky Tursa get killed? This now? No. Let's see. There is Mantle Global Industries in his Hecate. Here we go. So there's the super carrier. There's the Erebus. There's that. There's the Dread. There's the Dread. There's the third Dread. There's some pods. Okay, let's take a look at this. Hold on. All right. Okay, so we have an Intaki Syndicate guy. Let's actually look this person up too. So when they make these characters, they can make them as old as they want to make them. Massive Fight and PF TAC. I don't doubt it. Especially as the gal are probably the one that gave the special Sino. We've known that all of the major mercenary groups has had these illegal Sinos since the Dread attacks. So that doesn't surprise me at all. So this person has been part of the Intaki Syndicate for 13 years. Why am I getting a phone call? No, please don't. Sorry. Yes, please feed the guinea pigs. Like this, give it a thumbs up down below. Like the stream, it's very helpful. Okay, so this guy, employment history. So yeah, been part of the Yantey Syndicate since 2012. You guys can't see it, but you know, I pulled it up. Let's see. Anything fancy? Nyx and Taki Syndicate skin and cargo. Nothing interesting in the cargo. Is that true? Fleet Hanger? Hold on, Fleet Hanger. Small arms. Quaif. Quaif is interesting, actually. Especially since the connections between Quaif and the Yantey Syndicate. And the Yantey, the manufacturing or the buildup happening in Syndicate over the last couple of years after the Yantey, or after the Caldari took over the constellation. Galente planetary vehicles? I didn't even know that was a thing. That was over as fast as I feared it would be. It was about when I expected, to be honest. There's also a Hyperion and a Thorax that dropped. That's pretty cool. No Plex in the cargo hold or anything. Nothing too fancy like that. Let's look at the related kills. No. Hold on. I meant... Do we not also have its pod? Did they not get podded? Don't they usually... There's the pod. Pod had nothing in it. Nothing fancy. Just the corpse. Next. The Erebus. ISK authorized mobile signal beacon was an interesting new item, but it seems plausible that using it caused the capitals to enter with the suspect flag. Again, the last time they were used was used by the militias, not the militias, but mercenary groups in order to attack various planets with dreads. It ended up being all a conspiracy by the EOM, but it did mean that basically at least one major mercenary group per faction has access to these high-sec sinos. Planetary vehicles, Vanguard stuff. It's technically Dust 514 stuff. I assume that they just drudged it up. Oh, the Megathron didn't drop. Yeah, the Erebus has basically the same stuff. Military navigational telemetry, Quaif, Galente planetary vehicles. Makes me interested to see how many of those are in the game. What is the item number on these things? 17143? That feels like... Yeah, these things have been around for a long time. Well, maybe not a long time, but at least a while, right? Hold on. Nicholas, hey, friend of the show, Nicholas, died with one in his cargo hold back in 2020. So these have been around for at least a little while. No, not that one. Who cares? This Nyx we already looked at. Dread. A capsular guide to dropping dreads. Good. Perfect. Laggy? I don't see any. My stream health is good. Seems like the main goal for the Minmatar Mar conflict will be taking Arzad. Yeah, let's Arzad. Where is Arzad? It's in Devoid. Which Devoid... It's a faction warfare system. It's currently owned by the Amar. What's fancy about this system? What's Tash Murkon strip? Oh, the Meridian strip. What is this? Hematar? Okay. Arzad. What is near Arzad that's worth arguing about? It's next door to Mehitor. Wait, it's next door to Mehitor. Who's trying to Starkminer lore on the items? Which items? Arzad 2 is Starkminer Prime. Oh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I really feel like... Well, and here's the Amatar mandate, right? So, yeah, if you go straight from Arzad, you have to go through Mehitor, which is the Amarian militia headquarters, in order to get to the Amatar mandate. But the Amatar mandate also links directly to Hematar. I seriously think that the Amatar mandate might be in a bad place. Look at the kills happening in PF TAC. Sorry, I wasn't showing my map that I was looking at. I'm sorry. Y'all aren't yelling at me. PF TAC. Clear violation of sovereignty, and everyone who shot these capsuleers should be given a -10 standings at the Galente. I mean, that might be a little bit like high, but... Oh, there goes that cenotaph that we saw earlier. Initiative is getting kicked. Who did they get kicked by? Wait. Hold on. No, this is by... Sorry. Initiative is doing the kicking. My bad. So they're just smashing everything. I'm assuming everything that goes through that gate? I bet it's pretty ugly over there. I'm not jumping in. There's a free-for-all brawl happening? Yeah, I bet there is. I'm not jumping into that. What lore item has descriptions? Oh, Hand of Arzad. I see. I need to go through... Oh, I see. Because if I do a search... Got it. Book of Saint Arzad. This book is in tatters, and some of the pages are worn and missing, but much of its contents is still readable. The book describes the life of Arzad Hamri, an Amar holder on Starkman Prime. It's supposedly a relic from the Starkmanir Rebellion. It's the planet that the Amar blew up, right? It's the planet that the Amar, like, orbitally bombard, right? Amatar turning into faction warfare space would be interesting, not currently considering Amar territory, so Min Mil can travel there freely. Yeah, they could do something there. Okay, great. So, right. A tattered document, presumably part of a larger manuscript. The text is written neatly, though much of it is faded. An excerpt from this piece titled Chapter 1, Saint Arzad, reads as follows. And so it was that Arzad Hamri, son of Ezra Hamri, grandson of Yuzir Hamri, ascended to the title of holder by the most holy grounds on Starkmanir Prime. Though only a young man, Arzad held the wisdom of the ages granted to them by the Celestial Maker and carried with him the burden of creation. His first act as holder was to grant a day of celebration to all slaves, calling that day holy by the Amar religion. The slaves, members of the Starkmanir tribe, refer to that day as the Hand of Solace, or Ku-Azard, or Arzad. Unlike his father before him, Arzad was instantly loved by the slaves, and his benevolence sowed the seeds of righteous love between holder and slave. Okay. Hand of Arzad. Tattered document, chapter 20, Hand of Arzad reads as follows. Hand of Arzad grew to become the most popular festival in Starkman Prime. Starkman Prime. It was so beloved that the day of rest granted by Arzad Hamri, on this day, Hamri acted as pastor of religious services, in which most of the Starkmanir attended. His sermons from the festivals were collected and distributed among the tribe, often used by the elders to educate young people of importance of benevolence and good grace to the people of all stations. The theme of Arzad's sermons was almost always the inherent dignity of the Starkmanir, their precious qualities, The hope of salvation through servitude. The message did not fall on deaf ears, as many ambitious young Starkmanir took his words as inspiration for independence and rebellion against the greater Amar Empire, though Arzad was always able to quell the burgeoning pride and self-esteem of the slaves. Quote, salvation comes through servitude, the grace of your masters, the dignity of your being, was Arzad's common response, his refrain found throughout the sermon. So what was that statement about it, though? What did it actually say in the video? Hold on. Do we have a new news about it now? Nope.
Dude, soon.
Oh, shh.
I am a Jedi.
What? Shh.
Like my father.
Shh. Lordy. All right, hold on. Sorry, I'm looking at the original transmission. So that way, hold on. Yeah, here we go. So, Brutor joins Starkmanir clan members in petitioning for Arzad 2 name change on celestial maps. Interesting. So if we go back to Nui News, let's just check the last few things to make sure we understand what's exactly going on with Starkmanir and potentially Brutor. Just make sure there's nothing that I've kind of skipped over in all of this. I know that there has been some mentionings, so let's look at it. Imperial military parades held across planets, and Devoid dismisses intimidation tactic by San Matar. Okay, so Devoid is this constellation, is the constellation that includes Arzad. So that seems important. That's it for that. When Moreau's elected, we get Scimitar Shakur calls the new president a singular mind. Yeah. Brutor Chief Ukumi Pol boasts Republic fleet could make short work of Amar high-sec defenses were it not for Concord protocols. Okay, so that was a Brutor Chief. And then Lord Aram Ardashapur and Sorum petition that Mimitar military buildup should be treated as a threat of war or act of war. Okay. And then when the gates get damaged, the Tribal Council of the Mimitar Republic has co-signed a statement by Samatar Maltu Shakur rejecting any suggestion of involvement in today's tragedy. The Republic is saddened to hear the terrible incidents surrounding Jeddah. Any suggestion of collusion or involvement in the disaster. Brutor Chief Ukumi Pol and Chrysorol Chief Daikin, so there's Brutor again, has gone beyond the limits of the statement to point fingers at the Amar Empire. The Amar economy has been suffering as they attempt to keep step with the recent Republic advances. We remember Turner and their reckless abuse of technology and the endless lust for power. We were watching the Empire with very closely as always. The Republic must be certain that no similar tragedy can occur here. What Concord protocols prohibit serious misconduct outside of the limits of designated war zones. While these hold, so does the path to stability. Yeah, but the protocols are now dead. So then, when the investigation begins, we see service on faith and fortitude held throughout Amarian border systems, which is probably including that area. Republic fleet holds local meetings with clan leaders to coordinate defense strategies. The war protocol kicks off. Ancient Starkmanir space combat strategies gain popularity among Republic commanders. We know that one. That's it. And then when Sylphie's arrested, we have Turner Tashmerkon calls for firing of Overseer Quartermaster. Oh, that's just because of the a Quartermaster thing. That's nothing. Amatar mandate elite pilots praised by Grand Admiral Ketsti. Hey, we know him. For Warpath response. Okay. Vriorkir tribe warns of threat posed by Amar missionaries in Republic space due to Warpath invasions. Yeah, not a lot right now, but you can tell, like, I feel like they're either setting up something over the Amatar mandate, which the skins would point to if you want to get that down that conspiracy. We talked about that last episode. But the other option is Thucker, right? Like, if they wanted to do a strictly one-to-one, you know, the equivalent of the Syndicate would be the Thucker. But it really does look like we keep pointing, at least the CCP is trying to point towards the Amatar mandate. So it could go either way. I have a hunch that in the aftermath of Orvoli could be the first instance of wide use of Vanguard mercenaries as things heat up for the Intaki Syndicate incident. Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it the first use of Vanguard, but definitely the Vanguard can get in the mess of it when they're ready to. Why is there another Sino here? Or is the Sino just still here? ISK authorized mobile sinosaural beacon. I'm 90% sure this is the exact same thing. Who's this guy? Is he one of the ones that died? I'm 90% sure this is the thing that got added in as part of the like when the dread attacks were happening. The Sino is still up, but the chances that they'll try to jump anything in is very low. Looks like it's more or less over. Here's how I think the Galente should escalate. Jump an unmanned Titan into Jita 4-4, or Jita and ram it into 4-4. Oof. No, this is in the same sort of way that when the Galente decided to take Intaki, that really set up Caldari to be the good guys, and so they were able to like feign, you know, we're just trying to do the right thing when they managed to take an entire constellation of Syndicate and therefore set up their taking of the region of Syndicate. And in the same way, I think that the Galente would be better off, rather than like breaking the rules themselves, using this as an opportunity to kind of drag Caldari to Concord and rake him across the coals, right? Was there anything else in the ticker today that was interesting? I know we looked at the ones about like how Air Laboratories have gotten really involved in all of this too. But I think there was one ticker that I didn't read. Jita 4-4 station guns and defenses will melt the Titan. I mean, maybe. But at the same time, Jita's also huge. Like, you could probably run a Titan into Jita and not kill everybody. Rodin would have jumped to attack Caldarian Syndicate as well, I think. Yeah, I do think that, like, chances are... Now, we haven't actually seen Moreau's real response. Moreau is kind of diplomatically attempting to get the Syndicate to side over with them. They're using this as an opportunity to basically win the Syndicate back over to the Galente. I do agree that Rodin would have been a far more aggressive. This would have been... I'm actually, like, I would not be surprised if Moreau's response is not seen as sufficient and Rodin starts calling out Moreau for their... because, like, one of the criticisms of Moreau was that they were not prepared to be a military commander. And so I expect that Rodin will, like, accuse Moreau of being weak and soft against Caldari and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Was the ticker line about Jita talks going well? The ticker line about Jita talks going well was Dukasi claims that the talks are going well in spite of rumors of deadlock. So Alexander Ducassi, who is part of Evermore, which is tied to this whole, like, it very well could be that Ducassi and Saraki are kind of working together to allow Evermore to take over Jita from Lydai. If you believe in that conspiracy theory, then you should take what Ducassi says about the negotiations with a grain of salt. Are there now Caldari ships in Syndicate space that we can shoot? I don't think so. Not really. Yeah. Maybe Moreau will call it its other drones in the trench coat to attack Caldari space. Again, like, the best thing, let's not forget that what could be argued to be a super weapon, or at the very least a new kind of technology that otherwise was not seen before, has been demonstrated to blow up all 7 Jita stargates at the same time. So, like, that still is hanging over everybody's head. Like, that happened, and whoever did it, who, remember, no one has actually, like, come out and made claims that they, like, taken responsibility for it. Even with all this stuff happening with the Syndicate, what we know is that the Syndicate does not have the capacity to do this kind of attack, even though, like, a Syndicate dude, Syndicate folks were probably part of it. They did the physical interaction with the gates. They sabotaged the gates. That's what they were arrested for. But they are not capable. The Syndicate does not have access to the Drifter hives. Therefore, the Syndicate should not be capable of creating the fissures around the Jita Stargate. So even though the Syndicate have, like, some Syndicate members were part of this whole plot, like, Syndicate members are, I mean, there's mercenaries and criminals, and you can get a couple Syndicate guys to do basically anything. That doesn't say anything about who actually did it. So we know that it couldn't be the Syndicate. We also know it can't be the Gallente. They're the other group that doesn't have access to the Drifter hives. So even if the Gallente are involved, even if the Syndicate are involved, there has to be another component to this. One of those 5 groups, if not multiple of these 5 groups, know what happened to the Jita Stargates. And until everyone figures it out, we are now in this really spooky, like, Cold War scenario where it's like, when is the next attack going to be? When is the next time that something like this is going to happen? Right? It's likely connected to the fact that Jita's a blue star. It might be. That's a very fair assertion, but, like, that's the point, is that all of the empires in their head, they have to know that this is out there, and no one allegedly has grasp on it so far. Even the Caldari are accusing it of being a mistake, right? But even this kind of mistake, if they understood what caused this kind of mistake to happen, it can still be transformed into a new weapon. It's either Edencom or a Caldari false flag. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it a false flag, because a false flag implies that whoever did it intended to, like, a false flag is when you fake an attack upon yourself in order to justify an attack on somebody else. I actually think this is intercorporate espionage and sabotage, right? I think that Intaki and their ally, not Intaki, Ishikone and their allies coordinated this attack in order to weaken and disrupt the power base of Lydai and their allies. So even though it's an inside job, and the fact that a Caldari agency, Ishikone and their allies, was in on it, it's an inside job, but it's not a false flag. They made the attack, and they're just blaming one of their, this is something that happened before too, right? When Ishikone, I think it was, and Suvi, there's another, like, no, I think it was Lydai and Suvi back in the day. We looked at this when we were talking about the conspiracy theory stuff. There was, like, a back and forth of corporate espionage where, like, they got pulled to court and got proven, like, found in Caldari court that they were both participating in corporate espionage and sabotage. And so the previous events to that directly tie to that. And the things that was happening, like, stations were getting blown up, like bombs, terrorist attacks and stuff. But they were accusing the Gallente doing it. That's just how they work when they're doing their megacorp megacorp espionage. I think it's a Caldari transport experiment gone wrong. That's also a good thought. Although again, there is a certain amount of intent to all of this, because they did arrest those Intaki people that did sabotage the Stargates, and it does seem to be connected to all of this. So it actually doesn't make sense to me for it to be a mistake, because if it was an accident, why did it require sabotage to trigger, right? In Eve Universe Discord channel, Wizard dropped some transmission interceptions. Sweet. Was there chatter in local and I didn't even see it? There was chatter in local and I didn't even see it. Why didn't I do that? That's silly. I don't know if you guys can read that, but I'm going to read it for you just in case. So at 1811, Evelyn says, "This is Governor Evelyn Arnox. I cannot alter what is about to happen, but I can bear witness to the murder of my kin, and I can carry their memories back to my but one more duty. I am here to relay the final messages from their friends, their family, from their friends, family, and everyone back in our stations forced to watch the slaughter of our people. Since I do not have access to the secure channels with the fleet, they must be broadcasted in the clear. Stand by. Quote, the local net begins to be saturated with hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of messages originating from private terminals in the Syndicate. Most are short, personal missives of no tactical significance. Intercepted Syndicate broadcast. A girl of perhaps 14 stares at the camera with naked desperation. Behind her is at least 3 small children that are at least half dervish, engaged in riotous play that is causing significant property damage to the furniture. She reaches out and grabs the camera, holding up to her drawn pale face. Quote, look, you only paid me through the end of the week. What am I supposed to do? The money you left for food is about to run out and, quote, end quote. The babysitter is on the verge of tears. Quote, I love your kids, but I don't know what to do. Intercepted Syndicate broadcast. A video feed opens up of an Intaki woman in military fatigues. Quote, my husband and I already said our farewells. The message is to the capsuleers aiding the state. Please stop and think about what you're doing. These people are not fugitives. They are wives and daughters, sons and husbands. Please, I beg you, stop. These are innocent civilians that you're slaughtering. Please stop. Ooh, okay. This is now giving me kind of chills, man. Like, because I often do like to think about like the life of the baseliners, and like to us we made it all into a game, but yeah, this is they've made this as rough as they possibly can. The sabotage must be an unconnected smuggling ring being blamed. I don't think so. While the actors did speak in local, I think this is player written. Is it? Son of a bitch, you're right. None of this matters, right? None of this matters. Does none of this matter? I mean, I hate to say it that way, but yeah, that's just a player. Keep going. Well, I scrolled through the whole thing. Every post in here is by that same person. Okay, I'll read them all. We will keep in mind that was no. This is a player. So even though this is player stuff, that's fine. This is player RP, but that doesn't necessarily make it not canonical. It's just a matter of whether or not CCP wants to tie it in. So likely it might get mentioned later. Hello player doing a job of lore than CCP. This happens all the time. I mean, that's part of the whole point. All right. A florid overweight man. It does explain why it's a different vibe from most of the stuff that CCP does. So it makes more sense this way. But either way, intercepted Syndicate broadcast. A florid overweight man stares at a vid feed like a drowning man might view a passing ship. He doesn't look like he slept in 2 days. At least it is running, and it's running on fumes. Quote, look, Endall, I know you're on the run and waiting for who the hell knows what, but there are bigger problems than that. Things are effing chaos down there. I have thousands of mouths to feed and half the protein I need to do it. I need those biomass shipments from Planet 4 rerouted. Yeah, okay. That now I if I wasn't able to tell before, I'd be able to tell now, because biomass is not generally something you think of for human consumption. I know you're busy dying and all, but you need to sack up and do your effing job, or there's a small chiming notification. The man's jowl sag in relief. Thank you, and good luck. Hooray, we managed to secure the blueprints and now en route. We will meet the appointed place and restart operations. Please send funds. Yeah, this is just kind of... Oh, wait. Isana? No. They did put a lot of work into this, for sure. One of the Yantey had to take matters into their own vigilance by attacking stargates, or Caldari stargates leading to Jita. I don't know. My point is that if you need something shady done, it's not that hard to get a couple of Yantey Syndicate dudes to do it. It doesn't mean that the entire Syndicate was involved. Hold on, let's see. Is there anything in chat that we can look at? What happened to my local? Why can't I scroll? That's weird that I can't scroll further up. Huh. Yeah, my local is messed up. All right. Okay. Well, this has been exciting. Let's talk about the other half of today. I'm still pretty safe, yeah. Why can't I? There we go. We'll just do this. Okay. Does it cut off channel? Yeah, I didn't think it would cut off that fast. I've been able to go up in that before. Okay. All right, guys. Let's talk about the other stuff. Let's talk about the other half of today's title, because today was a fun little lore thing. Oh, there is also the new capital assistance site, which actually, interestingly enough, the new LOSEC site is not for capitals. It's for battleships and below. I don't... We can look over that real quick, but ultimately the big news of the day is CCP. Or rather, not CCP? not CCP. XCCP? Well, if there's logs, somebody will post them soon enough, I'm sure, on the in-game character forums and stuff. Okay. I do want to talk about the big news from yesterday. A new era. CCP is dead. Long live Fenris Creations. Oh boy, has this been there's been a lot of talk about this. There's been lots of opinions being made, and so I feel like this was something that I definitely wanted to sit down and talk to everybody about. I'm here to put even context for my fellow Empyreans, and boy effing howdy does this require some context. So let us begin. Real quick, we're going to begin with the fact that in 2019, CCP was acquired by Paradox, or not Paradox, PA. Either way, they're not important anymore. No, you know, historically, EVE Online, CCP has been a game company that has been more or less on life support. You know, a big turning point actually goes all the way back to like 2012 with the release of Incarna. They've had to fire basically a third of their staff at the time. They've had to do mass layoffs, especially of the community management team in like 2015. There's always been like this idea that CCP was running from their own loans a lot of the time. So even though EVE Online itself was profitable, their operations were not, right? And this ends up making them be very vulnerable, especially to the whims of the player base, especially in this kind of day and age where the player base, the player base of EVE Online has definitely demonstrated for a long time, but it's even more true now, where it's like the player base of EVE is very loyal to EVE. They give CCP a lot of support, but they are willing to turn on CCP at a drop of a hat. We can see this with, you know, the Summer of Rage and other places where the player base are willing to hurt EVE if they're unhappy with something that CCP is doing with it, right? And so as a company, this is very risky. So they want to diversify, but the player base hate it when CCP works on side projects. So their money has always been kind of a struggled position. PA steps in and buys CCP for what ends up being about $225 million. And this changes like the stability of CCP and thus EVE Online. And we see a whole bunch of changes from 2019 basically to now as CCP kind of works in this new environment. Now, earlier this week, we received the news that effectively Hilmar, but more or less CCP, the company, has more or less purchased back itself from PA. Now, there's a lot of whole reasons behind this. You know, the PA cited the fact that like even though EVE Online has been pretty profitable, in fact, very successful in its stability over the last couple of years, and only in growth in the last couple of years, the company also is just reinvesting a whole bunch of their money in new technologies, in new developments, in things like Vanguard, in things like Frontiers, which, while it started with its own funding, who knows where it's at this point. The point is that they're able to bring in good numbers, but they're also spending those numbers too. And in a world where PA is also doing their own risky ventures and releasing things like Crimson Desert Online, which doesn't do, or not Crimson Desert, which doesn't do as well as they probably would have liked, this puts them in a kind of a weak position. And in the end, they decide to amicably split, right? And so CCP pays about $100 million back to PA, and then another $20 million worth of token credits, I assume in association with Frontiers. And now CCP is effectively their own company again. Okay, that was step one. Then on the 6th, we get an announcement that, in fact, not only are they now their own company, but now they're not even CCP games. Yeah, Pearl Abyss, thank you. So it wasn't just the Atlanta office, though. That was another piece of it. But okay, so we now have a new era. All right, so Fenris Creations. Let's look into this. Also, an announcement of a partnership with Google DeepMind. Now, I know we've talked a lot about AI and crypto and other tech and everything like that, especially as it relates to EVE Online. I hope to, in this presentation, show you that this is not nearly as spooky as what you might think as we explore what this actually means to be with Google DeepMind. But let's jump into this and get started. A new era. What was this thing about Caldari previously getting systems in Syndicate? You mentioned there was some backstory there. Yeah, so the Caldari took the systems in Syndicate. Basically, with Uprising, Gallente suddenly took back Intaki and took Intaki and its constellation off of the war zone. This was very upsetting to a lot of people. Syndicate, not at least among them, and so the Syndicate entered into a peace or a security deal, which gave the Caldari one of the constellations within Syndicate region to allow the Caldari to function as a buffer zone. That's why the Caldari were there. That's why they were building up forces. But obviously, that's now completely fallen apart. Well, no, now Dotland, now all of the systems of Syndicate now belong to the Caldari. Yes, Crimson Desert did sell 5 million copies. It was a success. But my point is, it might not have been as much as they would have wanted, and having multiple points of contention. I don't know all of the details of the business deal. I'm just saying what ended up happening, and it on paper it looks like it was a pretty decent deal for CCP, because it feels like, you know, PA was Pearl Abyss was not in the best position in this whole scenario, is what I'm saying. Yeah. So part of this is, I think that, like, low-key, I think that part of this whole changeover was because, you know, CCP, you know, anybody who's ever talked to your real life friend or family or, you know, associate about EVE Online that doesn't play EVE Online, and you just casually mention CCP, you know, oh yeah, CCP did this, and gotten that reaction from the person's face when they immediately just assume that you mean the Chinese Communist Party. You know, no, like, I feel like we all know why ultimately CCP did a name change as part of this whole puzzle. It's kind of funny, but it is what it is. But the point is that when we last talked about this, CCP had become an independent company from PA, even though PA had retained some token rights. They were now an independent thing. So now, yesterday, we get the announcement. Today, we announced that the company behind EVE Online is once again becoming independent, operating under its new name, Fenris Creations. So CCP is now dead. We now have the company Fenris Creations. We will be owned by our shareholders and governing by our board of directors, giving us more direct structure for this kind of far-reaching decisions that EVE requires. The name Fenris Creations is inspired by Norse myth, but it is also rooted in our own history. Back in 1997, we were captivated by a belief that that has shaped us ever since. For a virtual world to have meaning, it must be shaped by risk, loss, renewal, and the people who inhabit it. In short, death is a serious matter. So, you know, we talk about this all the time. This is one of the foundational principles. This is the first line in the design document for EVE Online. It is really funny that some people have said that it's seen like the making worlds more meaningful than real life. And some people are like, I don't know, that seems kind of problematic. It's like, dude, they've been saying that literally for their entire creation. But that's neither here nor there. That belief was from the beginning. Our very first published game carries the name Fenris on its box, a reminder of the kind of worlds we wanted to build. Nearly 3 decades later, Fenris Creations carries the first idea forward into a new era. Our name and structure are changing, but our roots and ideals remain the same. Building living universes shaped by people, trust, consequences, and time. EVE is a primarily English-speaking game. I don't know if I'd really argue that. I think there's a breakdown of that. CCP only has that meaning in English. Yeah, but that's enough. It's enough. So we can see here, Fenris, this is the original Fenris Games logo on the back of their Danger game when it was first published. What does this mean for EVE? The answer is very simple. EVE continues. The teams behind EVE Online, EVE Frontier, EVE Vanguard, and EVE Galaxy Conquest remain in place, and our studios in Reykjavik, London, and Shanghai continue as they are today. This is the one and only mention or acknowledgement that EVE Galaxy Conquest is a thing in any of these announcements, which I find very funny. They could have gone with Mjolnir Software Smithery. I mean, yeah, but they want to bring about the end times. Our leadership, creative direction, production, products, and development plans are also unchanged. The people who are working on New Eden for many years are still here, still building, and still focusing on the same goal, making EVE stronger in the long term. EVE has never been a normal game. You know that better than anyone else. It is a universe with its own economy, politics, grudges, legends, scams, history, and friendships. It started as something grimdark, but you transformed it into something beautiful. And sometimes, nice acknowledgement that it used to be grimdark, but now they don't consider it grimdark anymore. And something a little bit crazy, but that's exactly why we love it. But that also means that EVE has to be built differently. Could, of course, be... No Echoes. Echoes is not made by CCP. Echoes is made by Tencent as a partnership. Could, of course, be name change be made... like being able to mess with sovereign nullsec space, for example, disrupting anomalies, scanners, and stealing the payout. Wait, could, of course, some changes be made, like being able... Yeah, I mean, I think that more tools for messing with nullsec could be great. Yeah, you can already steal payouts and stuff. More ways of harassing nullsec is definitely probably important, but there has been recently a big of it was just making nullsec. It's important to get nullsec happy with living in their own space first and foremost, right? If everything that we do to nullsec involves fucking with nullsec, then in the end, nullsec just feels like they're being kicked all the time, which isn't really fair. Okay. So, respecting the past. Since 2018, Pearl Abyss has been an important part of our story. They gave us room to operate, support, and grow, the opportunity to continue investing in EVE through a changing and often difficult period for the game industry. We are grateful for their partnership, their trust, and their role that they've played in helping us and EVE thrive over the past 8 years. After looking carefully at the long-term path ahead, both companies agreed that the best next step for the company to return to an independent ownership as Fenris Creations, while Pearl Abyss continues to focus on its own core titles and IP portfolio. We part ways with respect and appreciation. For us, this is about EVE forever. Yeah, I've always said that locals should be done by like observation posts that need to be monitored and can be hacked to shut down. But either way, that phrase is not just something that we put on a slide at FanFest. It's a way of thinking about every decision that we make. What does New Eden need in order to endure? What does this company need in order to support it? What kinds of structures give us the patience and resources to keep building this universe properly? This transition does not involve restructuring or layoffs. There are no planned changes to our organization. Our headquarters remain in a name I'm not going to try to pronounce, and our teams in Reykjavik, London, and Shanghai continue their work as before. Okay, so that's part one. Part one is CCP is rebranding. Cool. It's now going to be Fenris Creations. We now have to call all the CCP devs FC. So it's FC Convict, FC Swift, which is going to be difficult. We're no longer going to have CCP Please. We have FC Please, or FFS FC, as I like to call it. You know, like this is interesting, but this is not necessarily the big news. I mean, rebranding kind of makes sense. We can make fun of the fact that it's no longer CCP. There's a lot of chortling about that. The fact that this stream is still CCP, even though they're not CCP anymore. Whatever, rebrandings are always fun. I like to think that this was just CCP Hilmar always wanted to be considered an FC, and this is his only way to do it. But we could all, you know, like we can all make our jokes. That is not the thing about this story, though, that is ultimately the thing that got everybody's attention. What happens next is partnership for the future. As part of this next chapter, we are beginning to research a research partnership with Google DeepMind, focusing on intelligence in complex, dynamic, player-driven systems. This is something I'm genuinely excited about. I have spoken with the people at Google DeepMind about EVE many times over the years, and will admit I never miss an opportunity to brag about what EVE players have built. And they let me gush because they share their love of games. Projects like AlphaGo and AlphaStar has been foundational in understanding of intelligence, learning, and problem solving. Quote, as a gamer and games producer, I've long admired EVE. What the EVE community has created together with Hilmar and teams is truly unparalleled in gaming. It is a one-of-a-kind simulation for testing general-purpose artificial intelligence in a safe sandbox environment. I'm excited to partner with the team at Fenris Creations to push the frontier of artificial intelligence and explore new player experiences. And that is this guy. And I'm going to just call him Andre. I think that, or Alexander, rather. I'm going to call him Alexander, even though I don't think that's exactly correct. But I'm going to talk about him a few times today. So, what you actually talked about for local is my idea too. Yeah, I've talked about it a few times. That is why this partnership makes sense. EVE is one of few environments where questions about intelligence can be explored inside something that already behaves like a living world. To be very clear, this initial research will take place in a controlled offline version of EVE that are not connected to Tranquility, but it does open a door to work that feels very true to EVE. Difficult problems, long timelines, strange possibilities, and people willing to explore what comes next. With FanFest 2026 coming next week, we will be able to share more about what this research entails. Adrian Bolton, part of the Google's DeepMind founding team, will be joining me on the FanFest stage. Adrian used his passion for games and game development to help define the blueprint for what pioneering AI research. I'm looking forward to discussing more about our partnership and Google DeepMind's unique perspective on intelligence in games. Okay, great. This is the part of this stream where I try to convince you that this is not an absolute disaster. So let's talk about what this isn't, first of all. This isn't an attempt to this isn't Aura AI. This isn't ChatGPT integration with EVE Online. This isn't any of that kind of stuff. In fact, like, there is a certain piece to this where I think that a big piece of it, like, this basically consists of two parts, right? There's the there's a separate shard of EVE Online that is for AI experimentation. And likely, I don't know if I have the evidence on hand, but I'm just going to guess that a big part of this deal was that CCP has offered open their data from years of running EVE over to Google DeepMind, or over to Google and DeepMind. So this isn't about, integrate with Frontier. This isn't about integrating AI with anything per se. This isn't even necessarily like the idea of like, okay, well, all of everything I do in EVE Online is going to be used in training data. Yes, maybe, but that's not what DeepMind does. And more importantly, that's not what this guy does specifically, because I know this guy, not like personally, but I've heard of this guy before, and I know of Google DeepMind. The important thing to understand about Google DeepMind, where we're going to start within this, is that Google DeepMind is significantly older than the entire AI revolution that you've been thinking about, okay? This is not ChatGPT. This is not Anthropic. Google DeepMind project, I believe, started in 2010, okay? So if you've ever like read an article somewhere of like, oh, we taught a video game to play chess. We taught a video game to, not chess. Chess was Deep Blue, which is actually Deep Blue predated DeepMind. DeepMind as a project was inspired by Deep Blue. Deep Blue was the AI chess player that ended up beating the most highly accomplished human chess player in the world back in like the early 2000s. And then from that, we have this idea of like, so there's the DeepMind project where they teach it to play Mario and they teach it to play, Tetris and stuff. There's this fun story from like back in the day where, so the way that this works, the way that this AI behaves, this is not deep neural learning, right? This isn't LLMs, right? LLMs, you throw all of human history and knowledge at it, and it learns the patterns of human speech and therefore can replicate it. And we call that a large language model. That is not what this is. What this is you give an AI agent the ability to do things to a game, including reading the data behind the scenes. And so the AI first experiments by like trying to do different things and sees what kind of responses happen when it does different things. And it looks for an incrementing number, because that it assumes is going to be like the points or your level, or if there's a number that it can make go up over and over again, then it assumes that that's what it wants to do. And if there's a number that goes down, it assumes that it's trying to avoid that because it's like lives or whatever. So a good example of this happening in a very funny way would be like Tetris, right? So they taught it to play Tetris, and what it does is like it could detect how many lines up it is, and that number goes up. It never actually, like, in its first attempt, never actually learned to remove rows to build up to like higher levels, because that doesn't happen right away. But what level you're at, as far as like how far stacked up you are, that does happen right away. And so what the AI learned to do would be to stack up the blocks as fast as possible to get to the very, very top of the Tetris room or screen. But then it also knows not to lose. So it goes all the way up to the very top and then immediately pauses the game and never unpauses it again. This was just one of those fun anecdotal, hey, we taught AI how to play video games that, we heard about in like the early 2010s, right? That's just one example. So then another piece of this was a thing called Deep Dream. And this is very closer to, so Deep Dream was as DeepMind is getting into neural training, neural network training, right? Where this is what we think of when it comes to LLMs, where rather than you know, one very powerful algorithm that's making decisions. We have this like network of little things that are working together in order to crunch through data in order to do weird things. And so one of the weird things that happened was Deep Dream, which is this idea that we can funnel all these kind of images into our servers and then ask it what it sees, right? And so like this is when the Deep Dream looked at the Mona Lisa, this is what it sees. And it was just, this was a very early experiment to understand what is going on in the brain of these neural networks as they're trying to develop this technology. And it's kind of fun. There's all these cool pictures that came out around 2015 as part of this Deep Dream project. Why am I bringing that up? Because if we look on Wikipedia, we'll notice Deep Dream is a computer vision program created by Google engineer Alexander Morvintsev, which if we look back at the announcement, that's not the same person. My entire argument falls apart. Uh-oh. No! I was so prepared for this. Is it because... Wait. Oh, no. Wait. All right, so this isn't necessarily it. That's a dead end. Never mind. Oh, no. No, there's more to this, though. That's fine. What we do know about this guy, I apologize. Deep Dream, it's important because this is still part of the DeepMind project. But to look at this specific person, though, the actual person that we're looking for, we can see this is his LinkedIn page. And of course, he's been recently talking about all this. But one of the things I found very interesting in all of this is I found... oh no, where is it? Wait. Wait, where is it? Hold on. No. Where is it? Okay, well, dang it. Give me a second. There it is. Okay. Wait, yeah, okay. Great. So here is an article that was written on the 21st of April. So on the 21st of April, Google DeepMinds promotes games and AI research veteran to director. So this is this guy, right? This is the same guy. I need to double check this now. Yes. So this dude has been promoted to be the director of product management from the lower, like within. He's been part of this team for a while. According to his LinkedIn, he's been part of the team for I think 8 years. Which actually means that he joined a little bit after Deep Dream, so I should have noticed that already. But we can see that he's basically taken over the DeepMind part of this project. And it is true that DeepMind has produced other things like Gemini, but DeepMind itself is the research side of things, okay? And that's really, really important because what we can see is if we go to his Twitter account specifically, we can see him bragging about all this. He's saying that we need to check out this person's article, although it's on Bloomberg, so I can't really pull it up without paying money, and I don't really feel like that at the moment. But if we scroll past all this stuff, we can see that there's actually another announcement that he made 2 days ago, around the same time that CCP made their announcement that they were becoming independent of Pearl Abyss. So it turns out they're working on a new program called SIMA. So this is from March 13th, 2024, but hold on. He's talking about it on May 4th, 2026. So I'm assuming that this is like an advancement in what was already there, I'm assuming. But so there's this thing called SIMA, a generalist AI agent for 3D virtual environments. So we present a new research on a scalable instructional multi-world agent that can follow natural language instructions to carry out tasks in a variety of video game settings. So basically what they're doing is they're working on, in the same way that before they had their AI agents learn how to play Mario, they're trying to see if they can get AI to learn how to play these more complicated 3D environment games. This has been one of the holy grails of AI development for like a decade now, like way before LLMs ever came onto the scene. And we can see here we have like Valheim. This is what is that game called? Breakout? No, son plays this game. Breakout? I don't know. And then of course we have No Man's Sky, and I think probably a Roblox game, but there's other pictures and stuff too. So the idea is that, there was one from Satisfactory, Teardown, that's what it was. So the idea is that this isn't about crunching through data in order to be able to like mimic that data, which is what LLMs do. This is about allowing an AI into an environment to see whether or not it can learn to execute and operate within this environment. All right. So what this really feels like, especially based on the descriptions that they've given, if you can imagine that there's a separate shard of tranquility that they're making, so extra copy of EVE Online, and then they're letting the AI agents play in that environment to see what they end up doing, right? Because, EVE Online shows that there's these mechanics. Some of them are not even necessarily that well explained. And us as a player base have individually and collectively as an organism developed strategies, developed, guides and resources, have collaborated with each other and against each other, all these sorts of things. So the idea is, can we make AI do the same thing? If we unleash these agents onto EVE Online, can they learn to do things in the game? And what do they learn to do? This isn't about training better like rats or anything like this. This is literally about like understanding how we learn things, and more importantly, how we can train things. Because this is a competition to get to general intelligence, right? So in a thing like Mario, it's very easy. Your goal is to continue to go right. Anything that gets you to go more right is good. Anything that kills you, stops you, that's bad. And so the AI can just iterate until it finds the absolute optimal path of when to jump, when to do whatever, in order to get from left to right as efficiently as possible. That is a relatively simple task for it to eventually figure out. The goal here is to figure out whether or not we can generalize that intelligence. That is the holy grail of AI. All this shit, all of this money, all of this resources, all of this AI bubble, they all know it's a bubble. They all know it's a bubble. But they think that whoever gets to general intelligence first wins the entire game, right? Right now, everything kind of has its own, like even LLMs start to scrape at GAI because like it can start to take on complex challenges as long as it can use the language model as a method to execute those sorts of things. Can somehow turn its language into actions, then it can learn to do more advanced things. That's how AI chatbots like Claude work, especially, and agents like that. But this is not that. This is about building an AI that can address novel problems and develop novel solutions without it being necessarily trained on specific things. So it isn't so much as like, you gotta understand, like if they can teach an AI to play Eve, then that becomes a huge argument in favor of the fact that they can teach an AI to do kind of anything, right? So some of the questions that I have with this is like, well, what happens when these AI universe starts making stories that are kind of more interesting than the ones that we make, right? Are they going to self-organize into groups? Are they going to go to war with each other, or are they going to cooperate? These kinds of things. I think that that's more of what this is about than, hey, we're going to as much as I would love EVE Online to become a giant game of Stellaris being played by AI actors for all of the different empires and groups, and that we are just kind of the X factor within their giant game. That is not what this is actually heading towards. This is about, can we teach AI agents to play more complex 3D environment-based games? And to that end, it would seem that Google has spent $20 to $25 million to get themselves access to an EVE Online server dedicated just for them, and potentially our data as some kind of like research and training data, which I'm sure Google loves. So this, I cannot help but feel like this is nothing but a win for EVE Online. This isn't about this isn't about a change to Tranquility right now. Does it eventually become something? I don't know. It depends on where the research goes. But the point of it is, this is closer to like when they tested different engines, or there's been some other partnerships. This is closer to Project Discovery than anything else, where there's like a partnership for information rather than, okay, now Google DeepMind is going to be competing in the Alliance tournament. That said, wouldn't that be awesome? I think that one of the things that I saw was like people commenting about this, and they're like, oh, they should really let AI unleash an AI on Tranquility, because it would just make a more enjoyable opponent or something like that. And the idea that if this works, this AI agent could very, very quickly put us to shame. First of all, it will, what happens when the AI agent learns how to fly and then can then simulate every single ship and its configuration against every other ship and its configuration to figure out optimal strategies? It will devise strategies that are something that we might not have even thought of before. This is what happened with Deep Blue and other previous examples of this kind of like AI training on video games. Novel, sometimes funny results come from that. It really depends on what the goal that they give the AI. If it is collect the most ISK or build a Titan or even hold the most space, then the most efficient way is to just make a blue donut. Maybe. And that's the thing, is that, yeah, you're right. There's gonna be a lot more about like how these things are controlled. I thought it'd be really funny that like it would be cool if all of these agents are more adherent to like the RP-ness of it, like buy into the stuff. You could have like a real simulation of like what the universe would be like with, people solidly joining the different empires, etc., etc. But it would be quite funny if the AI decided to go asymmetric and all of a sudden against a more symmetrical group. Well, yeah, and like if they were to unleash this onto Tranquility, it'd be disastrous, right? If anybody remembers when the Drifter attacks happened, the problem with the Drifter attacks, like, wasn't necessarily that they were able to shoot really far or like warp. There were some weird things that drifters could do, but even if the drifters were just following the exact rules of players, it still would have been a nightmare for all of the people that were in nullsec, for the exact reasons that at the time they articulated to me, which is that, I thought that the drifters were really good as like an AI agent, because in the universe they are an AI, and the result that happened was players complained because the AI never sleeps. The AI never takes a break. The AI doesn't need to go to the bathroom. The AI never, ever has to let go. So even if you can stop them here, you might not be able to stop them everywhere. Even if you can stop them everywhere right now, they'll be back in an hour. You have to sleep at some point. They don't. Every single structure that you have is vulnerable. If you defend this structure, they go after that structure. They just want to be disruptive. An AI that is actually attempting to win the game, that has access to any level of tools like that, would basically just dominate the player base within a pretty short period of time, probably, just because of the advantages that AI would have. Now, there's other fun things about like well, this could also help potentially CCP with bot hunting. You know, being able to have AI agents that read through our data, that understand our data to pull out anomalies, very, very useful and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of interesting, useful stuff that might come out of this. But the most important thing here is that DeepMind as an organization and as their goals, like their whole thing is about, for the most part, a lot of DeepMind is about teaching AI to play video games. That's always been kind of their shtick. And so I think that for the most part, like what you think of when you think of, oh, FC is partnering with an AI company, like that knee-jerk reaction needs to be recalibrated because it's a very different kind of AI research than LLMs. And I hope that at least I've kind of demonstrated that a little bit here. DeepMind isn't good at quickly shifting from meta to meta, but once the meta is established, it'll do really well with that. Again, it really depends. It depends on how they train it. It depends on how, what kind of goals it does. Because like what it discovers as being its goal, if they allow it to generate its goals like naturally, then it might be interesting to see like whether or not it goes to maximizing into ISK or territory control or whatever. We don't know. That's one of those things that we're going to have to get more information as we go. But I just wanted to at least like curtail some of our fears that this is not about augmenting the AI in the game. This is not about sanctioning bots in EVE Online. This isn't even about Aura GPT. This is a AI, one of the largest, longest living AI research companies that specifically focus on AI research in video games, in the idea of like using video games as a virtual environment to be a training exercise for their artificial intelligences, right? Not that the data itself is what's interesting, but the act of getting these things to grow up and learn to master these complex three-dimensional virtual reality environments to a comprehensional level, right? Like, because in the end, they even say here, like, they're going to want to say to somebody, like, they're going to want to be able to tell where is it? Where is it? But yeah, it's, look at this. They even say it right here. It's a one-of-a-kind in simulation for testing general-purpose artificial intelligence in a safe sandbox environment. If you think Google's spending $20 million just to be able to help CCP or win the Alliance tournament, you're nuts. This is 1,000% about training general intelligence. That's what this is, period. But there's a piece here about the fact that it's language, right? Because like the goal of this is to not only get them to be able to play the game, but to be able to understand the game, that you could say something to it, to be like, hey, you know, you could tell the agent, hey, I want you to conquer, you know, BTEC-R, right? I want you to conquer the system BTEC-R. And it needs to know what that means. So it's not just how to play the game, but also understand the what is actually going on, right? That's a whole nother level. Or instead of banning bots, CCP flags players who use bots and then send their AI hunters after one of those accounts, constantly harassing them. That would be cool. Well, they also got a minority stake in FC. Yeah, well, and that's where people know about, that's how this works, because like, so the minority stake, it was a 20% minority stake. CCP, CCP was just bought CCP from Pearl Abyss for 125 million, which makes it 125 valuation. So 20% of that would make it so that $20 to $25 million. That's where this idea that like Google must have given them that much or so in order to get this 20% stake. And that is a huge, like, it's a huge vote of confidence on behalf of Google. But remember, like, to Google, 20% stake in $20 million or 20% stake in a video game company means nothing to them. General intelligence means everything to them. And getting access to a tool that would become like a provenly good place in order to test general intelligence. Because as I said, I mean, go back and watch my last stream. It is so prescient of, like, I've said, like, EVE Online and CCP are on the bleeding edge of psychology and sociology. This is like, if they can teach, if they can make an AI agent that can learn, teach itself how to play video, like EVE Online, not just feed it every parameter we've ever done so it can copy us, but legitimately just drop an AI agent into the tutorial and get it to figure it out. We can't even figure out the tutorial half the time. If they can teach if they can get an AI agent that's good enough to teach itself how to play EVE Online, that is what Google is after. Isn't it also going to collect player input data to train models? I mean, it could, but that isn't nearly as interesting or useful. Now, the sociological data of, like, how this changes this, we can make this effect on the game, and that changes the human behavior in this way. Like, that is very interesting stuff to Google, potentially. But, like, if they just took every player telemetry and gave it all to Google and trained a LLM, like a LEM, a large EVE model, you know, a model that knows how to play EVE based on training data, that actually would not be nearly as interesting, because that's still a specific intelligence. If you can train an AI, if you can build an AI that knows how to learn to play EVE, now you're talking about general intelligence. And that is, again, cannot stress enough, the holy grail. Everything that has been happening in the AI world for the last 5, if not 10 years or more, has been the hunt for the holy grail of AGI, period. So, anywho, very exciting stuff, but we can keep going here to the where EVE stands today. EVE also enters its next era with real momentum. This game closed in 2025. It's crazy to think that we thought that the $50 million investment for EVE Frontiers was huge. They got half that for this. They just got $25 million additional value into this game. The thing that gets me is, like, I keep wondering, did CCP, or rather, did FC just scam everyone? Because, like, or at least PA, because, like, so PA sells back CCP. They clearly, there's some sort of negotiations going on, probably for a while now, because we did hear about the whole selling CCP a while back. So we could suggest that this has been kind of buzzing around for 8 months. They finally announced that they agreed to it. PA agrees to a deal that's like half. Literally, PA just doubled EVE's CCP's ISK, because, like, they paid 225, but then 8 years later, CCP only has to pay 120, really only 100, in order to get it back. And then 2 days later, offer and then the other piece of it was that PA was, like, if anything, they complained about the fact that, like, CCP was investing all of this money into all of these new projects, which is what made them not financially, like, attractive to PA. So it's like, oh my God, you're spending all this money on all these new products and it doesn't match your revenue flow. It's too risky. We don't want anything to do with it. So they cut their ties. They take a losing deal to make it all clean. And then 2 days later, CCP announces a 20 million or 20%, whatever, of the value that they were evaluated at, extra income from Google. It makes me wonder whether or not PA knew that this was going to happen ahead of time. Because if not, it really does feel like PA was left more or less holding the bag, right? Like, it's like, oh no, you're spending too much money. And all right, fine, you know, go be free. And then CCP's like, ha ha ha, we had more money, you know, lined up, and you didn't know about it. I don't know. I legitimately don't know. This is a level of this that I'm not aware of, but it does feel very strange that it's like PA kind of gave up EVE CCP or FC right at the time that it seems like they are on their way up and up and up. This feels like it would be a very strong year for CCP. Exordium, Vanguard, Frontiers. You know, this is a huge time for CCP as far as like their evaluation and their value as a company and their income. And PA pulling out right now is very strange, especially given this piece of information. PA seems to be going towards the video game first direction with their latest success with Crimson Desert and away from aggressive monetization. I mean, that's possible. They could just have different ideas about where to go with the gaming industry. It would be funny if the Aura teaches AGI to laugh at people. It would be funny. I will love it if the if DeepMind starts smack talking. All right. EVE also enters the next era with real momentum. The game closed 2025 with some of the strongest results in the year, including record-breaking November, one of the strongest quarters in EVE Online for more than 20-year history. The company remains profitable with strong reserves and an ability to keep investing in the long-term health of New Eden. Those results matter because they reflect what is happening inside the universe. Players are undocking, corporations are recruiting, alliances are scheming, markets are moving, wars are being prepared, fought, lost, won, and argued about for years to come. New Eden is alive because you keep making it alive. We were able to make this transition in large part because of you. Because you continue to believe in EVE, because you continue to support us, because you continue to challenge us, because after all these years, you are still building the most impressive virtual world in gaming right alongside us. EVE has always been a collaboration between developers who build the universe and the players who give it meaning. Your wars, friendships, betrayals, markets, monuments, grudges, victories, losses, spreadsheets, doctrines, and impossible plans are what make New Eden endure. The connection doesn't just end at development. We also had storied history of open dialogue between developer and community. That's never going to change, and I want to be as upfront as possible in the days ahead. Questions will come up, and we will answer the ones that we can. Thank you for believing in New Eden, for holding us to a high standard, and for building this universe with us. The next chapter will begin now, and I'm very glad that we get to build it together. FC Helmar. So, again, I think that this all happened because Helmar wanted to be called FC, finally. Is that a good sign? I don't know. I don't know enough business to be able to make any sense of it whatsoever. That particular decision. Now, I will say that this seems very strong for EVE Online, just broadly. I don't know. They seem to be operating with confidence, but I do expect we're going to hear a lot of this kind of rhetoric, especially with FanFest, right? Because this idea of EVE Forever, this is a big thing for them. It ties everything together. But also this idea of like, don't worry, guys, this transition isn't bad. It's good, actually, because our main loyalty is to EVE Forever. This is going to be, if I could predict anything, I think that like idea is going to be the theme of this FanFest, right? Don't worry, guys. Everything's great. Everything's great because of you guys. And we are committed to making EVE Forever, right? Like that's the thesis of this year's FanFest, most likely. But what is EVE Forever? EVE Forever is the idea that EVE Online is a game that doesn't shut off. It'll keep going forever. That's what they've been kind of banging on since really 2012, I think. PA might need the money to cover their tax liability. I mean, that is true. They might want to just like, it might have been worth it to PA to just get the money to keep going. Anywho, we also see, so this guy, like I said, on the 4th, they announce this new generalist AI agent for 3D virtual environments. And then something about Gemini, but then find out more about our partnership and fantastic team. Which one is this? That's not it. Yeah, okay, yeah, this was it. Yeah, video games are a key proving ground for artificial intelligence systems. Like the real world, games are rich in learning environments with responsive real-time settings and ever-changing goals. From our early work on Atari games through our Alpha Star systems that play StarCraft 2 at human Grandmaster level, Google DeepMind has a long history in AI in games. Yeah, anybody who thinks that this means that we're going to have somebody to pick on should really go talk to the StarCraft 2 players that got beaten by Alpha Star. Today, we're announcing a new milestone, shifting our focus from individual games towards a general instructional game-playing AI agent. In a new technical report, we introduced SIMA, short for Scalable Instructable Multi-World Agent, a generalist AI agent for 3D virtual settings. We partnered the game development to train SIMA on a variety of video games. This research marks the first time an agent has demonstrated it can understand a broad range of gaming worlds and follow natural language instructions to carry out tasks within them as a human might. So yeah, I mean, basically exactly what I was just saying. This work isn't about achieving high game scores. Learning to play even one video game is a technical feat for an AI system, but learning to follow instructions in a variety of game settings can unlock more helpful AI agents for any environment. Our research shows how we can translate the capabilities of advanced AI models into useful real-world actions through a language interface. We hope that SIMA and other agents' research can use video games as sandboxes to better understand how AI systems can become more helpful. So, to expose SIMA to many environments, we've built a number of partnerships with game developers in our research. We collaborated with 8 game studios to train and test SIMA on 9 different video games, such as No Man's Sky by Hello Games and Teardown by Tuxedo Labs. Each game in SIMA portfolio opens up a new interactive world, including a range of skills to learn, from simple navigation and menu use to mining resources, flying a spaceship, or crafting a helmet. I love how they don't mention Eve, but then all of the things that they're talking about, except for crafting a helmet, is clearly Eve stuff. We've also used 4 research environments, including a new environment we built with Unity called Construction Lab, where agents need to build sculptures from building blocks which test their object manipulation, intuitive understandings of the physical world. By learning from different gaming systems, SIMA captures how language ties in with gameplay behavior. Our first approach was to record pairs of human players across games in our portfolio, with one player watching and instructing the other. We also had players play freely. I wonder if this is actually where the ChatGPT AI thing came from, because it's about how players teach players. That honestly, unironically, might be a small piece to this, because it's all about how it's about how language is used in the act of learning things. We also had players play freely, then rewatch what they did and record instructions that would have led to their game actions. So we have data. So they do have data collections based on the data set, but they have the SIMA agent, which works with pre-trained models, or from pre-trained models. SIMA is an AI agent that can perceive and understand a variety of environments, then take actions to achieve an instructed goal. It comprises a model designed for precise image language mapping and video model that predicts what will happen next on screen. We fine-tuned these models on training data specific to the 3D settings in the SIMA portfolio. Our AI agents doesn't need access to a game source code nor bespoke APIs. It requires just 2 inputs: the images on the screen and simple natural language instructions provided by the user. SIMA uses keyboard and mouse outputs to control the game's central characters to carry out these instructions. This simple interface is what humans use, meaning SIMA can potentially interact with any virtual environment. The current version of SIMA is evaluated across 600 basic skills spanning navigation, object interaction, and menu use. We've trained SIMA to perform simple tasks that can be completed within about 10 seconds. We want our future agents to tackle tasks that require high-level strategic planning and multiple subtasks to complete, such as find resources and build a camp. This is an important goal for AI in general, because while large language models have given rise to powerful systems that can capture knowledge about the world and generate plans, they currently lack the ability to take actions on our behalf. We show that agents trained on many games was better than an agent that learned how to play just one. In our evaluation, SIMA agents trained on a set of 9 3D games from our portfolio significantly outperformed all specialized agents trained solely on each individual one. What's more, an agent trained in all but one game performed nearly as well on that unseen game that an agent trained specifically on it on average. Importantly, this ability to function on a brand new environment highlights SIMA's ability to generalize beyond its training. This is a promising initial result. However, more research is required for SIMA to perform at human levels in both seen and unseen games. Yeah, again, like if Google could turn around and go to GDC and give a talk about how they, because the stories that EVE Online players have made have become legendary within gaming space. Even if EVE Online itself is a niche game, the stories that we generated is legendary within the gaming world. and what CCP has done with it has become legendary in the gaming world. And so the idea that like Google could be like, and now there's a player empire or like EVE Online is being played by AI agents is very fun. If they could somehow make these agents start to do wars against each other and create stories and invent religions like Bob, like we did, like that is something that Google would love to be able to make claims of. Can they use Simon to create cat ears? Please, Eve needs cat ears. There's nothing stopping them from making cat ears. Yes, Simon is an AI bot engine, correct. Teach AI how to gank, what could go wrong? Hey, AI can gank AI. Our results show that Simon performance relies on language. In a control task where the agent was not giving any language training or instructions, it behaves as an inappropriate but aimless manner. For example, an agent may gather resources, a frequent behavior, rather than walking where it was instructed to go. It's interesting because like a lot of this has to do with like learning how we learn too, and the role of language in cementing our ideas about things. Simon's results show the potential for develop new wave of generalist language-driven AI agents. This is an early-stage research, and we look forward to building on Simon across multiple training environments and incorporating more capable models. As we expose Simon to more training worlds, the more generalizable and versatile we expect it to become. And with it, more advanced models, we hope to improve Simon's understanding and ability to act. I think it would be kind of fun for, like, maybe not unleash this AI as like a full empire, but, you know, let's let Neurosama play Eve, right? Let's just, sure. It could be a character that everybody could kind of follow, right? It's a well, like, understood. It's a specific character within the universe. It wouldn't be too much unlike the Twitch Plays Eve that was made a few years ago by Eve Scout guys. As we expose Simon to more training worlds, the more generalizable and versatile we expect it to become. Yeah, the skill sets that Simon would have to learn, because it's like business and management. Like, this is stuff that would be kind of spooky to learn for AI to learn, right? Ultimately, our research is building towards more general AI systems and agents that can understand and safely carry out a wide range of tasks in a way that is helpful to people online and in the real world. Blah, blah, blah. We would like to thank the paper authors. Who do we have? Adrian Bolton. Adrian Bolton. There he goes. Top list. And there's the guy that's quoted, right? Yep, there's the guy that's quoted. And the guy that did Google DeepMind or Deep Dream is not even on the list. Awesome. Excellent. So that whole thing about Deep Dream was a waste. All right, cool. Perfect. How many shortcuts will they need the AI to give the AI before they end up just making a market bot? The point is that you want an AI that tells, like, you can be like, I want you to make 1 trillion ISK on the market, and it needs to know how to like do all the pieces to make that happen. I mean, AI should be able to multi-box at next level and thus scout like never before. Well, I mean, would it even be multi-boxing? Because you could spin up an agent per character. It technically wouldn't be multi-boxing. It would be swarming, which is, I mean, it would be basically the same of multiple people that are all like coordinating with each other, but they would all have their own agent potentially. I refuse to believe that would be, I mean, that wouldn't necessarily be, that wouldn't be multi-boxing in my argument. CCP sounds too Polish. Fenris sounds more humble. Calling yourself after the wolf god of Ragnarok is humble? Okay. That's market bot that Google will have the code for. One of the other interesting things about this whole thing, this is a little side note, is that I'm actually really surprised that they didn't partner with Microsoft, because, you know, Microsoft has been big in the AI thing, although they have been getting more out of it recently. I know, before anybody gives me shit about it. But, you know, they are one of the big players in the AI world. And more importantly, Torfifron, who was the product manager, I think, for EVE Online for a long time, left CCP to join Microsoft Corporation. And his last thing was he was a producer on the Minecraft movie. So, like, they have deep connections with Microsoft. And this is also shown in the fact that they did the Excel spreadsheet thing with Microsoft. But we haven't heard very much from the Excel spreadsheet thing. And this kind of feels like a little bit of a snuff to, or, you know, thumbing your nose at Microsoft by doing this deal with Google a little bit. I will say the hottest and dumbest take I've taken from this whole thing was there was somebody on the forums that was saying that this is Fenris Corporate, or, you know, whatever, FC is now funding genocide, which is nonsense. You know, there's this whole idea that Google does have, Google's AI products do have contracts with the military, you know, U.S. military, but the money's going the wrong way for that. If anything, they're getting money that would be going to defense contracts, and it's, or sorry, I guess money's coming in from defense contracts and then coming to FC potentially. But, like, man, let me tell you, the player base have not taken this well or in a stable way. People have had very much, there's been nothing but kind of knee-jerk reactions to this news. And so I definitely wanted to sit down with you guys and kind of explain why I'm not scared about this at all. And it actually seems like a kind of cool thing. Like, this is the kind of announcement that could have been done, at least the DeepMind stuff, that this could have happened 10 years ago before LLMs even happened. This was, again, like, this is the kind of things that DeepMind was already working on. And it feels like it's something more from that era than the Aura ChatGPT side of things. Yeah, but Microsoft has less complexity with AI when it comes to this kind of thing. It forfeited that advantage. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it did, as a side note, I'm just wrapping up all my thoughts about this. I was just saying, like, oh, it's kind of funny that, like, welp. Anything else? About this that I had? Yeah, like I said, I went to go look at this article, but it's under it's under behind a paywall. This is the take I was talking about. EVE players IMO would be okay if the agents were unleashed in the main live server, if they were super smart pirate faction that we could hunt for our gain. If you think that this would last for any amount of time, like, if with what this is going to be, we would be so screwed in a short amount of time. Like, we do not want that. People are right to be concerned. People play MMOs to play with other players, not bots. Yeah. Oh, again. So I think that anybody who thinks that this is about EVE Online being played with bots have missed the plot. Like, this is very spooky, but it's spooky from a, if anybody builds AGI, we all die in real life kind of spooky, right? Like, it is. I'm more concerned about what Google would do once they have this thing and now play EVE by you telling it what to do, and it just knows how to do it because it's learned how to do it by playing within that environment. And then you could drop it in No Man's Sky and tell it to do something there, and then you could drop it in Satisfactory and tell it to do something there, and then you could drop it in the stock market and tell it to do something there. You know what I mean? Like the results of having this level of capability in AI is spooky, but not for EVE Online players. Like, that is, I don't know. That's just my thoughts. But I am interested to know what you guys think down below. It could finally get good questing. I mean, there are secondary offshoots that might come from this, but it's a totally different. This isn't, Sima isn't trying to make new quests or missions for EVE Online. They're trying to create an AI that they could just be like, hey, do this in EVE Online, and the bot just knows how to do it. Not because it's been trained on EVE Online, but because it's just been trained in how to play video games. You teach a bot how to engage with video games in all different kinds of ways, and then you just drop it in EVE Online and you just say, hey, do this, and it has to figure that out. And if it successfully figures it out, then that means that you now have a bot that can figure out that kind of stuff. And that is very spooky. The AGI would be the ones to build a Palatine Keepstar? Hell yeah. Yeah, AGI equals human death, so let's train on EVE Online. It will be really funny that, like, when they, you know, in 100 years, when they pick through the ruins of our civilization, they're like, oh yeah, and then they unleashed this AI in this video game that was popular at the time called EVE Online, and then it studied all of the EVE Online player base actions and became a maniacal overlord, called itself the New Mittani, and took over the world. We survived loot boxes, NFTs, crypto bros. We can survive AI. Don't worry, captains. Well, I mean, loot boxes have been in the game for a very long time. NFTs never really touched the reality of EVE Online. Crypto bros are doing their own thing quite well. Thank you very much. But yeah, no, I think that, again, like, I'm not saying that this is a good thing. I'm just saying that it's not a bad thing for the reasons why players instinctively think that this is a bad thing. Even with the current LLMs, quest-giving agents. Yeah, no. There's tons of potential when it comes to AI in running NPC actors. You know, this is a big piece of what military campaigns are probably based around. It's a big part of what Invasions was. It's what the entire Drifter project was, an development of artificial intelligence, decision tree-based artificial intelligence. So, like, yeah, no, CCP FC are one of the biggest names in artificial intelligence and gaming world. It's just what it means to be artificial intelligence in gaming has changed pretty fucking significantly in the last 3 years. Oz actually says he's in favor of EVE Frontiers now when he says it wasn't originally. People are going to have to come around because it's doing well. You know what I mean? Like people can poo-poo it all they want, but it's yeah. Ironically, a lot of the news about this sale and this I've been getting from the EVE Frontiers Discord, because, or sorry, not Discord, but Reddit, because those guys are more on top of the news when it comes to things like the crypto tokens. Like, I wouldn't have known that the crypto tokens were part of the sale to Pearl Abyss if it wasn't for EVE Frontiers guys, because they're the ones, they focus on this shit. Is Frontier Fuel using crypto yet? I do not believe so. The last thing that they've done is they switched over to their, like, long-term planned blockchain of Sui. But yeah, no, there is definitely potential for AI integration into EVE Online, but I feel like that's a completely separate issue from DeepMind. I think from an engineering point of view, quest dynamic giving agents could be easier as they don't undock. They interact with text, images, currency, and items. That's all. So it should be simpler. I mean, on the one hand, it could be simpler. On the other hand, maintaining context is going to be a problem, right? Because, like, if anybody who's ever engaged, I've played like a AI powered role playing game before, and like it can be kind of convincing at first, but like keeping the context to make the next beat tie into the first beat and make it all make sense and not end up being wildly, because like, oh no, there needs to be a plot twist, and so like it introduces a plot twist, and then like the idea of keeping anything on the rails is incredibly difficult. So, you know, in a world in which what happens is actually important, that's going to be a big piece to this, right? Having AI just create the language on the fly about the thing is only part of it. The other part of it is like, well, what do those dynamic goals even look like long term? Which is why I think that military campaigns are a big piece to all this. For context, we can maintain a text file to log and keep the long-term plot intact. You can, but what that means is that over time you have more tokens being being required for its context, which means over time it just gets more and more and more of a cost to both maintain that context and refer to that context, and you're still going to start to lose context because small pieces become, or like what was a big part of something just kind of becomes lost in a sea of data points as time goes on. So, you know, like anybody, like I said, if you play one of these games for long enough, it's not just that the story goes off the rails, but sometimes like core pieces of what is like foundational to the story that is part of the initial prompt becomes lost because it's just a data point in all of the other data points of what it's done in its runtime. And so far, no AI agent company has been able to combat that fact. The fact that there's no win conditions for Eve makes coding hard. Yes, but you can give it goals through language, which is important. Also, that goes into one of the things from so in the news from Eve FanFest, right? In the Eve FanFest stuff. That actually reminds me of a thing from the FanFest blog, which is this one right here, the Infinite Game, which is a fireside chat. For those of you who do not know what the Infinite Game is, I assume, I'm guessing that this is what this means, but the Infinite Game means only one thing to me. There's a book written by a guy named Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek is this like dude who is really like he does like industrial organizational psychology, leadership, you know, building good corporations, and like he's one of those like consultants that goes and tells companies how to be good leaders and stuff, right? He wrote a book called Why Eaters Eat Last, and he wrote another book called The Infinite Game. And the idea is that a lot of games, most games that we think of as games, are finite games. They last a specific period of time, right? A football game or a soccer game or a Dota match, right? These are finite games. They go on for a finite amount of time, and in the end, there's a winner. There are winners and there are losers. And in a finite game, you're competing against the other players of the game, usually, at least some of the other players in the game, to see who wins and who loses, right? But companies are not playing a finite game. It isn't about this quarter, right? A lot of companies try to play a finite game. They try to, you know, beat their competition in their quarterly reports or whatever. But what Simon Sinek argues in the Infinite Game is that a good company isn't competing with their competitors. They're competing with themselves, right? Ultimately, yeah, we might win this quarter, but that means nothing for next quarter. It's about being better and better and better. If you are if your game is a competition with yourself, then two things happen. One, it doesn't matter whether or not other people are doing well or not doing well. You're still in competition with yourself. That's the thing that drives you. And two, it doesn't have a finite thing. Like there can be finite, you know, like it's the difference between a football game and a football player's career, right? A game can go well, you know, an individual game can go good or bad, but ultimately that career, that individual is trying to always beat himself, always trying to be the better player, always trying to improve their game in each of these individual cycles. And so that is the Infinite Game. The challenge is that ultimately you are the only person that you're in competition with. And I've said for years that EVE Online is an infinite game. It masquerades as a finite game, but it doesn't. Like there's always a tomorrow, right? So whatever victory you have today, that's great. What about tomorrow, right? And so ultimately, this is why I think that like ISK per hour isn't a good way to like necessarily build your entire life around, but it is a good metric to measure whether the relative success and efficiency and effectiveness you're doing in any given task that you're trying to do, you know, maximizing for your ISK per hour or whatever it is within the task that you're trying to do, as opposed to competing between different tasks based on ISK per hour, right? And so ultimately there, you're just trying to make yourself better and better and better all the time. Then it doesn't matter if you're running missions, doing faction warfare, or even technically mining. You're always looking for like the next edge for how to make things better for yourself. And that is the infinite game. And that is a world in which these AI agents could be very spooky. This isn't about infinite growth. Remember, this isn't infinite growth. It isn't talking about infinite growth. This is about the fact that you can always, when you're competing against yourself, you can always get better. If you're competing against other people and you win, then there's no impetus to get better, right? You've won. Apple doesn't compete with Google. Apple competes with Apple. That's his argument. Yeah. So my point is that I saw this on here, and again, this isn't my argument. This is literally I'm just telling you what the infinite game means as an expression. Hold on. The infinite game. Yeah. No, I'm 100%. Like, it's the infinite game by Simon Sinek argues that a business is an infinite game with no finish line, unlike finite games with set rules and winners. And I have argued, again, in the past, I've literally like given presentations before and written stuff in EVE Online about how EVE is an infinite game, not a finite game. And that's one of the things that makes it so interesting. Apple is behind Android, so it's not a good. It's a great example. It's a great example. Because my point is that Apple, like at any given time, it doesn't matter if Apple is behind or ahead of Google, because ultimately that isn't what spurs them to innovate or to do better or to be the best versions of themselves. Because as soon as they are doing better than Google or aren't doing, is Apple suddenly losing? Are they all just losers now? No, because they are like in their game playing field. They are both fighting for the same. Like, they have the same metric that they're kind of fighting over in order to judge their relative worth. But if Google disappeared tomorrow, it wouldn't make the game over for Apple. They would still be in competition with themselves. So, hold on. I even think I mentioned it in this article. Hold on, let me look. Flow, chemicals of happiness. Well, I know I really paid, like, I got deeply inspired by Sinek's presentation about leaderships, why leaders eat last. Good to be the king. Leadership comes at a cost. It's straight from his. This entire section on the chemicals of happiness comes directly to from his talk about why leaders eat last. I don't know. Yep, there it is right there. Nope, I didn't actually play into the infinite game part of it here, unfortunately. All right, never mind. Let me. Nope, doesn't look right. All right. And then, of course, I do think it would be fun to fleet with some AI agents for submissions. I think it would be really interesting for there to be like a Twitch. Imagine like a Neurosama-like Twitch stream where there's an AI agent that just plays EVE Online and can interact with the chat. Those who are good at math won't be smoked, I've noticed. I mean, like, there's so much of our world that's designed to punish people who don't know good math. You do realize that this leads to enshittification, right? I have plenty of bad things to say about the current AI revolution. That's what I'm saying. Like, there are some definitely some spooky stuff to this, but the height of the spookiness isn't, oh my god, DeepMind's going to be playing EVE. No CCP, those weren't shot color bots. They were a swarm of AI assistants. Yeah. Okay, so we do have in patch notes, the Titan Clash has started. So there's a new site, the Capital Mayday site. Mayday signals will receive via interstellar events section of the opportunities window, alerting capsuleers to these battles whenever they emerge. On site, two Titans slug it out. Both have extremely impaired systems, but neither will concede to the field. Capsuleers must hold specialized capacitor boosters from allied freighters to the cargo bays of the defending Titans. Empire's forces are on site to assist their Titans, so haulers will require protection as they work. Once fueled, defending Titans will unleash their Doomsday against the invaders to chip away at its defenses. Capsuleers will be rewarded each time the defending Doomsday fires, with up to 30 pilots eligible for the optimal reward. And the invading Titan will periodically reply in kind. Once either Titan is destroyed, the site will end. Only Tech 2 battleships or smaller will be permitted within the site. So this basically is very similar to the ice heist site for within insurgencies, it seems like. So there's going to be like a can. You have to get stuff from the can, move it to the place to get the Titan. This occasional invading Titan doomsdaying is kind of the timer, right? Where if you wait long enough, then the invading Titan will kill your main Titan, and that's just the end of the site. But you've got to doomsday it over and over and over again before then. And if you do it enough times, then you destroy their Titan, and that ends the site too, but with a victory. Oh, infinite game leading to enshittification? That exclusively has to do with what pressures are on the system, right? Because ultimately infinite game should challenge you to be the best version of yourself. But if the system, like if a capitalistic system allows you to say capture the system that's governing you, then that becomes economically the best way to go about things. So I would say that it becoming enshittification is not necessarily a result of it being an infinite game. The infinite game just kind of explores its own constraints. It's doing that without constraints that consider human, positive traits or positive results will lead to negative results, because those are apex solutions. I'm telling you, Ash, AI agents playing and streaming EVE is more complex than AI playing as mission-given agent with hidden motives, with one motive being survival. I know it's more complex. I'm just saying, like, I think that would be, I mean, if anything, it'd be great for Google to be able to say that they are able to do that. Enshittification doesn't work when there's competition. I mean, that's a big piece to it. Yeah. Basically, competition is the direct counter, or the direct counter force against enshittification. All right. So this is not a capital site. It does not require capitals. In fact, it does not allow capitals. It only allows battleships. Let me go look at Hobo Leaks, because this makes me wonder, what are the cap charges? There's the dreads. The partially constructed shipcasters being added in the other day makes me think I so think that we're going to get Exordium in the next, the last week of the event. That's not it. Where are these cap charges? Where are the cap charges? Warpath Titan cap booster. Ah, found it. How big are these things? Well, it doesn't matter. Let's pull it up. By the way, these skins that we've looked at before, they do have like special cool stuff apparently when you're docked up and other places and other effects, allegedly, according to the ad. So they aren't completely blah. And definitely the one for the ones that you get for the Omega sale is pretty decent. How big is this? 6,000 M3. Okay, so you not only need a battleship, you also need a hauler. You definitely need a dedicated hauler to be able to do these cap charges. If I compete with myself exclusively, I get very efficient. However, when I compete against someone else, I have to get better. Efficiency alone is not a useful goal. Nature has taught us this much. I think you're kind of missing the point. I'm not saying that you ignore your competition. What I'm saying is that the game isn't about beating the competition. The game is about beating yourself. When you're, the football player wants to win the game against the opponent, but ultimately the entire game and the opponent exists as a system for him or her to work on their own self-improvement, on their own capabilities. Yeah, the infinite game is a series of finite games. Often, yes. Look, I'm just telling you, there's a great video about it. I'm not going to put it on here because obviously it's YouTube or whatever, but just go watch Simon Sinek's presentation on the infinite game. That's all I'm saying. Like, don't argue with me about it. I'm not a guy who knows a lot of this shit. I just watched a video like 10 years ago and was like, oh, that's cool. I have to move 300 cap charges per doomsday, I think. No way. No. You can't do 300 6,000 M3 cap charges. That's not a thing. Like a bustard would only be able to do 10 at a time. That'd be 30 trips with a Tech 2 hauler. That's insane. No, something tells me it's... Remember CCP says freelance jobs will be edited from third-party servers? Yeah, they should already be able to be done. Right? I think freelance jobs can be done by API now. He's a freighter. I don't think a freighter can get in. Also, these are in low sec. Just also, a freighter would take forever to get from point A to point B. I disagree with you on the subject, and I'll probably disagree with Simon. Look, that's fair. I mean, you can. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to argue the point, I would recommend getting the real presentation of the argument. Otherwise, you're basically boxing with a straw man, you know? I love how the guy named Machiavelli is like, it's just game theory. Machiavelli agrees with me. DSTs? Yeah, no, you could do a DST, but it's kind of strange that that would be the requirement. I think that this is designed... I would expect... Has anybody seen anybody running these sites or have any information from inside the sites? I would assume that it's like 1 charge per shot, but I'm not sure. Given the size of it. What did it say? Capsuleers must haul specialized capacitor boosters from allied freighters to the cargo base of defending Titans. Empire forces are on site to assist the Titan. Once fueled, defending Titans will unleash their doomsday. Yeah, I don't know. Even a DST would only be able to carry 21 boosters at a time. Would it be 21? I thought it'd be 10. DSTs have 60. It is 300. Seen streams earlier. What? Are you serious? Yeah, 11. Hold on. Shh. Is there anyone doing this right now? Roaming fleet. No. No. No, I don't see anybody doing it. They had like 5-10 haulers. Maybe. Maybe 300 total, but not per shot. Does anybody have any footage of anything so far from this? This is all very new stuff. Oh. Eve's scope video is now live. Called, it's a... I doubt there's anything up right now. Right? Let's... Filters. It'd be from today. No, I don't see anything. Obviously, nobody's put anything up yet. I don't think. What about Reddit? Watch out for music. I know, right? Like 3 hours to run. What? Optimal payout is 30 players in the site, so 300 could be possible. Yeah, it's basically just a battlefield, or it's like a -30 plex. Nope. I don't see anybody posting about it on Reddit either yet. It's all very, very new, so we're not going to be able to know what's going on. Even a torrent's commodity hold isn't that big? Yeah. If the site takes long, it better have a big payout. It better have a big payout, and also it better be like ready for disruption. Battleship gang can easily give a 10k. I mean, it would be pretty crazy to do it with a bunch of battleships, but you probably could. But yeah, I don't see any more information that we can use about it. So, is that all we have to talk about today? Is there anything else to talk about today? I think that's it. Let me check this real quick. Okay, yeah, so the video from CCP is the one that we were watching earlier. Here we go. Hold on. What does it say? Titans deployed across HiSec as warpath conflict heats up. Okay, yeah. So the next thing that we get is the next main note. Well, so we've got these we've got 2 more attacks. So in like 6 hours or whatever, 6 or 7 hours, and then 6 or 7 hours after that, I think is what it was. We talked about it all earlier. So we've got that, and then we've got the 19th of May, which again is going to be next Tuesday. No, wait, hold on. Not next Tuesday. So next week is preparation for FanFest. We're not like, so we got the Capital support site now. So this is, I don't expect very much in terms of like news or changes next week. This is, we are now like, this is the last major thing that we get before FanFest. And then FanFest is obviously going to do whatever FanFest does. And then the next week after that will be the last week of the Capsuleer Day event. And then after that, I would assume would be shortly thereafter would be the expansion. So that's basically what we're at. I'm going to, well, right now I keep drifting back and forth between CCP and FC because when I'm talking about what they did before, I still refer to them as, they were CCP games in 2015, right? So if I'm talking about something they did in 2015, I'm going to still refer to them as CCP games because that's who did it. Man, am I going to get yelled at for dead naming CCP now? Is that what this is? God, I hate this. All right, well, whatever. Chaos was trying on the stream earlier. I'm willing to bet the payout will be around 100 to 300 million per character on grid. We'll have to see. I have no idea. If it's a big payout, then it's gonna like be an even bigger deal for people to just like overwhelm the site and like Snuff will just farm it. So I don't know if that's a great idea. We do have the nerds. Is it worth watching the nerds? People will still call them CCP, just like people still call Twitter Twitter. People still call Twitter Twitter for very different reasons, though. I think it'd be closer to saying like people call the Imperium the CFC. But even that's like at a certain point, people still call them that as a way of like slighting them. They were Crowd Control Productions. That's correct. That's what CCP stands for. Swift posted on the forums not too long ago, and they don't mind being called CCP. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they don't mind too much. It just it's fun. I do think it's fun that some of the people like Swift and Convict and all them. It's like, well, what do they call themselves now? And I heard that some of them are calling themselves ex-CCP, like ex-CCP Swift, ex-CCP Convict, and I advise against that because ex-CCP such and such is a name that's given to somebody who left CCP. Like if you go back and look at Puncturus's Discord, Twitter account, for example, it's ex-CCP Puncturus. So if I see ex-CCP Swift, I'm going to assume that CCP Swift has left the company. So I would advise either just sticking with CCP Swift or going with FC Swift. It's going to be interesting because like the big check is going to be when in game you can go like this and not get all these CCP guys, right? Even some of these CCP people that aren't even in the company anymore necessarily. Are they going to change all of their names from CCP to CCC or FC? And when they do that, is that also going to cause a whole bunch of other people to get their name changed when they weren't supposed to? That'd be fun. The last event when they had in low sec, the wave site payout was around 5 to 7 billion. You used like 4 to 5 HA dreads for it. Yeah, but this is not HA dread level stuff. They did in the NerdsCon podcast. Wait, they did which? Ex-CCP? Well, it's their company. They can do what they want with it. All right. Well, unfortunately, like basically from the stream on Tuesday all the way up to like yesterday evening, I had my son here, so I wasn't able to focus on anything else. So I don't have anything really extra prepared besides this. The news of the day was important enough that I knew that we were just going to be talking about that today. So I think we are pretty much I do hope they like FC dev named or something to smooth things over. Maybe. And then all the devs are FCs now. So could be a thing. At any rate, I think I'm going to call this here. Tomorrow. Oh, I will say that like on my way here, I had like yesterday, or not like yesterday, but the last time I found all of those data sites. Today, even coming here, I found more data sites. So it's really easy to find data sites in this event. I find in HiSec. So maybe tomorrow we'll demonstrate some of that. I don't know. I feel like now is a good time to wrap things up for today. If I do a stream tomorrow, it would be more like just gameplay stuff. So just let me know. Or if we do a stream tomorrow, we should also do a giveaway for another custom skin and stuff. So we'll see about that. Either way, head into the Discord and hit me up. Let me know what you guys want me to do. Otherwise, I might work on editing or preparing other things. Because like I said, right now, like from now on, as of right now, we are basically now just in preparation for FanFest mode, right? Everything's just going to be about what happens, not this weekend, but next weekend, right? So there is that, and there's that. So make sure to use the buddy link down below or in chat if you've never gotten your 1,000,000 free skill points, and head into the Discord and hang out with us. Because we talk about EVE Online stuff, and if any news comes up, anything's going on with the stream, if you get you'll get a notification there when I go live or put out other videos, etc., etc. Make sure to hang out there and get involved if you can. But all that said, going once, going twice. I've been Astrothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put EVE into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for today. This stream has been pretty fun, honestly. Like, obviously, this is stuff that is, the breaking news has been very, very exciting. We've gotten some really good views and lots of likes and sharing it around on my stuff. So I really, really, really appreciate all of you who've been actively participating in that. And obviously today, didn't have a giant breaking news ticker, which I probably could have done if I wanted to be even more clickbaity than I was. And yet you guys showed up to see what's going on in this site. And also we can talk a little bit about what today or this week's news means for the future of EVE Online total. I hope that today's discussion has been at least somewhat grounding for everybody, especially with the amount of tinfoil and craziness we've had over the last couple of weeks. Please go back and check out some of the previous videos if you haven't already. There's lots of really good information over the last few days, both lore-wise and game mechanic-wise. Maybe tomorrow I'll try to make my big, like, how to get the most out of the event stuff. That should be something that I target for. But yeah, I really appreciate the conversation today about AI. I also really appreciate the conversation last time about myth and religion and how the stories make the people into the people. And I feel that a lot of what we talked about today is a direct follow-up to a lot of the stuff that we talked about on Tuesday. So it's been a lot of fun, and we will continue to work on it. You can also check out my writings on my blog, you know, all that stuff. But I'd like to give a special shout out to my top tier supporters: 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Ebo Elite, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, Grims, May, Malik Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mike, Morcar, Michael, Neelam, LM1, Sheesh, Susuro, Threns, and Rid. Thank you all so much. Please, in the comments down below, like, I know that the asking for comments and engagements is always just kind of a whatever, but honestly, what do you think of my new camera setup? Is this good? You like this? Should I could probably get my puppy, not my puppy, I could probably get like guinea pigs to be back here if we wanted to, if that was interesting to people. I know I put the guinea pigs here, but like, I want to know, like, is that something that would be, what do you guys want? Let me know what you guys think. And I will try to make it better accordingly. Thank you to all of you who support the channel, help me get things like this microphone that I had to recently buy, a new webcam that I recently bought, and of course those of you who've donated for things like food for myself and my puppy and everybody else, you know, my household and such. It's why I'm still able to be here. So I really, really appreciate it. I can't say it any other way than that. I don't make a fantastic amount of money off of all of this, just enough to get by, but even that is only because of you guys, and I'm eternally thankful for it. I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Guinea pig riding a Megathron. Okay, hold on. I don't know. Can we do this? Hold on. Let me see. You guys gotta like the stream if I do this. All right, mini guinea. Hey, mini guinea. Oh, puppy. Puppy's interested now. Okay. Madness. Hi, puppy. Okay, now you want to hang out, huh? All right. So, hold on. There's the Megathron. Am I gonna break the Megathron or the guinea pig? Here is a guinea pig riding a Megathron. Like the stream. The things I do for you people. Oh gosh. Zoe. She's very friendly with them, even when she does get a hold of them. She just wants to lick them. She's not actually being mean to them at all. Thank you. Thank you, Detached Executive Troika, for the sublimation of Posh Flow. Okay. You need to stop. Calm down. Oh gosh. I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space. Wowzers. Zoe.
Bring on the wrecking machine. city